study, study, study all I can. I remember being called a crazy man, cause I talked about Egyptians being melanin beings. Fam, I knew for years couldn't see what I'm seeing, telling them the secrets of societies. Masons are the ones with nationalities. Don't stray from the focus cause they worship an owl, or grow tails during full moons and start to howl. Bun David Icke and the serpent people, with kundalini rays, nagas are the serpent people. Rolling up a backwood, not the master's Dutch, telling me I can't watch Emmett cause he swears too much. Inhale then exhale, dropping the science. In layman's terms, brothers running cause they heard sirens. Standing by myself, cops chasing those running. If they knew themselves, they wouldn't have to be running.
Was the earthquake hot? Who knows? Follow the leader, the follower is who goes. Martial law coming first stone, who throws? Does the universe love blacks? Who knows? Was the earthquake hot? Who knows? Follow the leader, the follower is who goes. Martial law coming first stone, who throws? Does the universe love blacks? Who knows?
All they do is talk and won't walk the path. Blacks have a prophet to save them from the wrath. They don't recognize them cause of Islam nations and universal Negro improvement associations. Prophets are sent from the universal reverence, whose laws are goddess, cosmos are heaven. The holy book is the being, not the Biblios. Son of God isn't a man, it's the Helios. To the ancestors we have to pay homage. Peace be unto all prophets, not just Muhammad. Prophet Drew Ali is who I honor and praise. Can't forget the L's and Bays for their wills and ways. Native to America, not the Indians. More is clearly recognized by all Europeans. They didn't fool us with trick knowledge but rhetoric. I'm way more Amero than Afrocentric. What historians call Africa is South Asia. Like Buddha, Muhammad and Jesus, Ali is your savior. Coming through the vortex, starting vortex. Dawid Ali corrected me through the vortex.
Was the earthquake hot? Who knows? Follow the
In the name of Allah and Ali, Islam to all. Join the MST. You should hear about birthrights and nationality, for you are not Negroes or what you claim to be. In the name of Allah and Ali, Islam to all. Join the MST. You should hear about birthrights and nationality.
King Haile Selassie, I change things around when my life was filled with ups and downs. I was on the water, just save me from drown. When my life was filled with ups and downs.
Strange reason, the people that call themselves Negro, Black, Colored, African, Caribbean, West Indian, African Canadian, Torontonian, that look like us, they don't believe that those names that they call themselves are labels, are tags. Sometimes tags are sewn on, sometimes tags are printed on, and sometimes tags are branded. A brand is also a tag. So if anybody looks at their clothes, at the back, there's going to be a tag there. And then that tag is going to be branded with the name of the corporation that owns that property that you call a shirt or a hat or shoes, etc. In slavery, they say that our people were branded. And our people think that a brand is a hot piece of metal sitting in the fire that they take from you and they put it on your skin. That is a form of branding, but that's not the branding that they're talking about when they speak about slavery and slaves getting branded. We as a people that have melanin, whether we have high concentrations of melanin or low concentrations of melanin, which means that we don't only have to have melanin in our skin to be quote-unquote black people. We could have inner melanin. And then that inner melanin would manifest in people who don't have high skin content melanin to have dark hair, dark eyes, things to that nature. These people have been robbed of their profit because his teachings was to tell the people who call themselves these brands, Negro, black, colored, etc., that they are not these brands. And that if you accept these brands, you put yourself in slavery. That's not someone putting you in slavery. Just like the argument, quote unquote, Negroes, blacks, and colored people make is that the white man enslaved them and they need to be free from slavery. When the etymology of the word slave is Slav, and a slave could only be a European. A slave cannot be a person with melanin because slave is a brand of Europeans, just like Dutch is a brand of Europeans. And French is a brand of Europeans. To prove that, ask a Yugoslavian how they got their name. Ask a Slavic person how they got their name. And they'll tell you because they were enslaved. What they don't want you to know is that you're actually the slave master. If you have melanin in your skin and you have big lips and a big nose and nappy hair, you were actually the slave master. So the Prophet Noble Drew Ali came to teach you to get out of that slave status, that slave brand, and to proclaim your nationality. People who have melanin in their skin or in their hair or in their eyes, those people, as far as an identity, are known as Moors all over the world. In German, it's M-O-H-R. In the German language, like if you ask Hitler, who am I? Hitler's gonna say, well, he's not a black person. Because I don't know what that is. There's nothing called a black person where I come from. Black people where I come from are called Moor, M-O-H-R. If we ask Gandhi, he's going to tell you about the dynasty in India called the Mauryan dynasty. We're dark-skinned people. That if you see some of the pictures here, when you look at some of these pictures, recognize that the people in these pictures are not European people. They're not Filipino people or Chinese people. They're Moors. And Moors are distinguished by their customs. And one of the customs of Moors is to wear a fez, which is the headwear that I'm wearing and that you might see around the room. It's a standard. If you see any pictures of the Prophet, he's either wearing a turban, just like what the sheiks wear, or he's wearing a fez. Now, the Prophet started this work in 1913. Right now it's 2011. It's 2011 right now, and it's a shame that people don't know who Noble Drew Ali is in this time. So when Moors from across the country heard that the Moors in this territory that they fakely call Canada, when the Moors found out in other territories that we're having a Prophet Noble Drew Ali celebration, a few of the Moors that we would consider adepts, which are Moors who are in a higher degree of knowledge, they wrote letters to read to people so you can understand how serious some people take the Prophet. Like, this isn't just something that we're just up here to do because, you know, we want to do this. Like, we're not getting any compensation for this. Like, that man at the door, like, he's just doing what he's supposed to do as a Moor, watch the door. He's not getting a paycheck. There's no compensation for anybody doing any activities. We're doing this because it has to be done. And it hasn't been done, which is why we're in the situation that we're in as so-called black people. So, I'm going to start with reading some of these letters, and as we go through the letters, you'll see how serious it is that you haven't maybe heard of or been introduced to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but all these people know who he is. All right? So the first letter that we're going to read is from Dr. Brother Denham L. Sheikh, Secretary of State for the Moorish American National Government. Islamism. I ascend to the highest pinnacle known to man as my higher self, giving all praises, adoration, and invocation to the great God, sometimes known as Allah, for thinking into existence a thought of love known as our holy and illustrious Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, who was sent to us in the proper and due time with a saving power known as the old-time religion, an ancient spiritual system that was termed Islamism, by our holy Prophet Drew Ali. Born amongst those he was sent to redeem on the holy day of January 8th, 1886, in the state condition of Salem, North Carolina, before they added the Winston. The Holy Prophet gave us our first and foremost that many Moors overlook, and that law is man know thyself, a law that up to until the 4th and 5th generations has not been carried out. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali was the first to teach up the true history of this landmass and the people falsely labeled as blacks, coloreds, and Negroes, and place us back in the affairs of the human family by resurrecting that which had been hidden away from our consciousness, and that is the free national name of our people before the annals of the atrocious act known as slavery, and that free national name is Moorish American. Prophet Drew Ali is Allah's angel and our prophet, but he came to us as an angel, but by 1925 AD, he was no longer an angel, but a prophet. In accord with the Bible, Deuteronomy 18, Revelation chapter 10, Holy Quran, Surah 14, verse 4, and Surah 74. The Holy Prophet was not only recognized as a national dignitary and head of state, head of a nation, but also as an international head of state. There has not been any other one born among us who achieved what Prophet Noble Drew Ali achieved and what he did for his people, our people. The Holy Prophet Drew Ali is a prophet, a thought of Allah manifested in divine flesh. Much different from an angel, but having one similarity, all our thoughts, creations of Allah. The Holy Prophet, between the years 1925 and 1928, 3 days in esoteric symbolism relating to Yahshua of the Bible, building what was torn down in these 3 days. 15 major temples and 21 subordinate temples, and each was supposed to turn into a Moorish state, having one temple in Cuba and Mexico. Prophet Drew Ali is the root of Islamism in the West. As a result, you can see Moorish science and pieces of the Holy Prophet in many other schools of thought, such as NOI, 5% Nation, the citizenship teachings of Father Divine, Bloods, Blackstone Nation in the school's 101. The first person to use 101 as introduction to learning was the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And with our Moorish questionnaire and the temple being the school of higher divine learning, if you examine the Europeans' education coursework, in their system you would see Psych 101, etc. Again, our Prophet Drew Ali gave the greatest teachings and was the Holy Prophet who himself prepared a holy book for us and left it as a guide. All other prophets before Prophet Drew Ali never left a book. It usually came many years after they had returned to the spirit realm and was prepared by followers, not by divinely guided beings. The Prophet told the Moors to be themselves, and he began to teach us to be ourselves, and in this day and time, it is up to us to finish that instruction simply by being the message we bring in the flesh. Our Holy Prophet taught us that our Islamism comes from Palestine, India, and Egypt. Nowhere did he mention Arabia. So our science is the science of self-mastery, and it has no connection or synonymous bearing to anything Freemason and Western. You must remember, Freemasonry is thief and murder. On this holy day, January 8th, it is imperative that we continue to examine, promote, and live out the Moorish legacy of our ancient ancestors and our holy founding father and Moorish patriot, the illustrious Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Allah's angel and our holy prophet. Let us carry out the law and become the 5 divine principles in thought, word, deed, and action. Islamism, and honors to all the Moors in Canaanland, Canada. I love you, Moors. Peace. Brother Dr. Denham L.
At the school, I'm told them don't let it fool them. At the school, I'm told them don't let it fool them. At the school, I'm told them don't let it fool them. At the school, I'm told them don't let it fool them.
We're the first people that is going to get taped, getting abused by some officer, and then the officer is going to get off with pay, and then we get no compensation. But everybody else is getting compensation. And there's people in this land that just got here, and they have 3, 4, 5 houses and businesses. And the people who've been here have Eglinton West. And Eglinton West has been in the same condition as it's been ever since Eglinton West was named Eglinton West. The same 2 lanes going in each direction, but they're gonna spruce up Thornhill, and they're gonna spruce up Don Mills, and they're gonna spruce up Bay Mills, and they're gonna put islands in the middle of the street and put left turn lanes with signals, but for some reason this is not happening in Eglinton West. For some reason this is not happening in the so-called black communities. And the reason that these things aren't happening is because there's no nationality of those people called Negro, black, colored. They're civil or mortus, they're dead in the eyes of the law. And if you're dead in the eyes of the law, nobody has any need to respect you. Nobody whatsoever has the need to respect you. Dogs have more rights than black people in Canada. Think about that. They're passing laws to protect dogs. They're passing laws to protect raccoons from getting stabbed up by people. Passing laws. Laws are on the books to protect raccoons. Even though so-called black people are called coon, and that's short for raccoon. So the objective today is 1, to show honor to the Prophet, because the Prophet came to redeem us from our sinful ways. 2, to recognize the people who have invited the Moors to come and speak at their organizations or their businesses, to recognize people who have taken the steps to assist the Moors in getting the word out to the people about nationality and birthrights. And 3, to have the National Grand Chairman, Elijah Pleasant Bay, speak to everybody in attendance about the Moorish American national government, what it is, and how you can get involved with it. What we're going to do right now is we're going to give out our first award, and I'm going to let the brother speak for himself with regard to the organization that he's a part of, that has been doing work in the community for numerous amounts of years, too many years to count. And it's one of the organizations that still doesn't have their own place for them to do their work on. They have to go to different, they have to get contracts in order to have space. They don't have their own space. And they've been doing this in the city longer than the majority of the groups that come here and get space. And the reason why they don't have their own space is because they're about uplifting the minds of our children. And once you are for uplifting the minds of your children, because the children are the future generation, if you're putting things in the children's mind to get them not to be quote-unquote Negro black colors, they're not going to fund you. They're not going to give you the grant. You're going to have to go into your own pockets and support your own stuff. So I want you to please give a round of applause to our good brother, Louis March of the ACHA, and he's going to also take 5-10 minutes just to let you know what that's about and how they've been doing the work in the community. So Brother Louis March, please come forward.
First of all, let me thank the Moors for inviting me here today and recognizing the African Canadian Heritage Association for the work that we have been doing. Since 1969, 43 years ago, the African Canadian Heritage Association has taken it upon itself to uplift our community by focusing on our children, investing in our children. The program started because our children were coming home from school crying their eyes out, bawling, I don't want to be African, I don't want to be black, I want to be white. They were walking around their homes with white towels on their head saying they want white hair. Because what they were seeing and learning in their schools, in their classrooms, from the school books, was a hatred of African people in pictures, language, and learnings. A group of parents got together and said, we will take matters into our own hands. And we will start the teaching of our culture and our history to our children about who we really are. We were going to take responsibility for that lesson. So the investment in our children in terms of their education and awareness, would now be in the hands of the parents, not the system, not the schools, not the media. We decided to do it ourselves. We also decided that we would not seek funding from government for a program. So this is one of the few organizations in our city that is doing the work that we're doing, that's self-funding, self-sufficient, and self-reliant. So whatever money it takes us to run our program comes from our community that supports us and from our fundraising activities. We're currently working out of Centennial College, and we've had challenges about finding our own space, our own location. That will happen in time, but we're committed to investing in our children. We have seen the value of our work manifest itself in many ways. The people that have come through the program, I can sit down here and I could name them. Daniel Hyman, which received an award from this group. Veronica Sullivan, Francis Jeffers, Aisha Wickham, who is now with 98.7, Paulette Sr., who ran for political office in Star Rouge Valley. We see the people that have come through the program and we see them doing their works today. And we believe that due to the efforts of this program that we made a contribution in that sense. We know that we have a lot more work to do. We know that there's a lot more challenges ahead, but we have never lost sight of the need for us to invest in our children. If we do not do it, who will do it? Why is it that we go to the same people that has enslaved us for 400 years and ask them to teach us about our history? It doesn't make any sense. We know that Christopher Columbus was a state-sponsored pirate. So why should we celebrate him at the expense of the great people like the Moors that have done so much work?
Something that symbolizes either a family or a person or a position. Does anybody know who this is?
Pope, the new Pope.
The new Pope. So Pope, which Pope?
Pope Benedict?
Benedict.
Yeah.
So if you look that up, coat of arms of Pope Benedict, that's what you'll find. Right? It's the sistren with the crown on that part of the crest. So a big question would be why, why is she there? What do these keys represent? The rope in between them, etc. Just some questions, right? The coat of arms of Somalia. Okay, and when you look up Somalia, the Republic of Somalia, in Somali language, you find that the word republic is Jamhuriyada, Jamhuriyada, Somalia. So, what does this word Jamhuriyada have to do with republic? Right? What's the relation? If you look here, it says battlements in the Moorish style. Right, so that's the coat of arms. The Haitian flag, right? There's some interesting connotations in the Haitian flag there, right? The flags on the top of the tree. The broken chains, right? Union faded for it, right? A union made out of force, right? Force. Again, now getting back to this side of the world and across the Atlantic, you have a place that was called Canaan, right, in the Bible. They said that Canaan was around here. So this is called the Levant area. Modern day would be Lebanon, right? Close to Israel, right? So when you look that up, that's where you find Levant or Lebanon. Well, here, this is an Egyptian memorial stone of a mercenary, Levantine soldier, drinking beer in the company of his Egyptian wife and child, 18th dynasty, 350 BC. Now that brother looks, like any brother in here, right? And his sister too. And their neighbors, Assyrians, right? From those ancient times. That's what they look like. That hat looks kind of familiar, doesn't it? Okay. So is it Canada or Canaan? Because that's the continental flag of America, if you were unaware. The flag that represents the entire landmass, the entire continent, not any one state. And that's the Lebanese flag. How many flags do you know that have a tree on them, right? There's some things to think about, and then, right? From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, this is the slogan, part of the song for the United States Navy. Marines, right? So marine means water, right? Okay. So Montezuma, there's Montezuma, and there's a Bay of Tripoli. Where's Tripoli? Tripoli is modern day Libya, right? Yes, Libya. And you see the town of Tripoli is there. But at one time, I believe they called this the whole country Tripoli, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Where's Montezuma?
Yeah, Montezuma. This is Montezuma. Montezuma is in Mexico. Okay. His kingdom was in Mexico.
It was an emperor, right?
Yes.
Or a king.
Yeah. This is the Bay of. It says the Bay of Tripoli. So a bay would be like a prince, a governor of a particular area. That area would be called his baylet.
So they talked about, the song's talking about the empire that they conquered.
Yeah. Precisely, right? Because if that's their marine, that's their military force, then they're singing their songs from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. That's what they're trying to defend. The reason that's in the song is because a lot of these sailors, people coming out of this area of the world, Tripoli, Tunis, right? They were pirates, and they were pirating the Atlantic, taking ships, taking people, taking slaves, making it hard for people to do commerce, and making it hard for the United States to really grow its reserves. They were almost bankrupt up until 1905, the end of the Barbary Wars, called because of the Barbary pirates, right? That's called the Barbary Coast, North Africa. There's some other ancient Moors. This man is Bodhidharma, who they say was the originator of Kung Fu, right? All the Kung Fu styles. He walked from, they say, India to all through China, and studied the animals on the way that he met. And so that's how he formed the different styles, and defending himself by learning through the animals, watching the animals. This statue seems to be a depiction of him, basically, right? A caricature. The mythical Queen Khalifa, right, who was said to be queen of the Amazons, and she commanded a legion of 200 sphinxes and waged war somewhere across the Atlantic in the Mediterranean area. So, although she's said to be mythical, again, right? California is named after her, though. Right? Another famous woman, right? Queen Elizabeth I showed this letter yesterday, where it talks about, it says, of late, diverse black Moors brought into this realm, of which kind of people there are already here too many. Right? So she ordered that those kind of people should be sent forth of the land. In other words, expelled. And I believe the year after this letter was written, the expulsion of Moors began to take place, around a few dozen that next year, hundreds more later on, right? And you can clearly see it's kind of, yeah, the handwriting is kind of scratchy, but if you look closely, it starts up there of late, that line there. And then you see black Moors is there. Yeah. This is in the 1590s, 1596. But that Elizabeth is not to be confused with this Elizabeth. This is Dido Elizabeth, the sister, right, and her cousin. And she was the niece of Lord Mansfield in England, who was, if you look him up, he was instrumental in the abolitionist movement in England. Okay. They call her Dido. Right? So why Dido? Well, if you look up Dido, Dido was a queen of Tyre. Okay. So where's Tyre? Right? The city of Tyre is in Lebanon. Right? There may be other cities of Tyre, but one of the most famous cities of Tyre is in Lebanon. So that Queen Dido was a famous queen of Lebanon. I had the picture, but there's a picture, if you look her up, then you'll see also, this was a dark-skinned sister. Right? There's a picture of her laying on a bed, and then her maids beside her, tending to her. So they named this sister after the Queen of Tyre, Dido. Okay. So that's a big name that you're hearing in pop culture again, also. So you know where it comes from when you hear that name, and it's not just. All right?
And so I welcome you as well. It's an honor to be here today on Prophet Noble Drawley's solar return, and to be here in Canaanland with my brothers and sisters. I want to share some information and really look forward to whatever questions you have to ask, because as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and all of you are teachers and students, and your questions actually show where you are, because you really already have the answer. You just affirming it with your brethren and the universe. I wanted to start out with, I don't know if you, can you see that I have the cover of the 101s behind me?
Yes.
Oh, great.
We can see most of it.
Yeah,
If you
well,
move it, yeah.
right, let me just, I'm sure all of you there have seen the cover and have the booklet, right?
Yes.
All right, so I just have it up here because I wanted to start with what nationality and birthrights are and how it relates to all of us, and particularly to the sisters, the mothers. Because when you even think of the word nationality and birthrights, nationality is derived from the moment you're born. Of course, there's birthrights. So if sisters aren't involved in it, it's almost like we can't even really discuss it or effectuate it to its degree, because it is she that will, as it says in chapter 2, that the sons will give the light. That's where we are in this day. However, the sons have to first have the light in order to give the light. And it starts from, they receive it from their mother, from the universal energies that are effective as she is building Solomon's temple within the darkness, in the silence, and with no tools. So that's the womb. So when she's in harmony with the universe and the energies thereof, which we know depicts as the astrology wheel, right? That describes them, and it's really a teaching tool for children. That's why it has the little animal on it, so they can see the different characteristic descriptions. However, when you look at that wheel, you take that veil off as you grow, and you see that it means something totally different on various levels, and it's the 360 degrees of knowledge. So with that, it's also unconscious from a 1912 definition, says that it is the part of the psychic apparatus that does not ordinarily enter into the individual's awareness, and that is manifested especially by slips of the tongue or disassociated acts or even in dreams. So now, I did that to set up the depiction of the 101s and to let the sisters know our responsibility, because we are born with enough eggs in our womb to create a nation. There's only one nation, however, and that is the Moorish nation. Everything comes up under it, because we're the mothers and fathers of civilization on the entire planet. Now, regardless to what you believe or what you think, that fact will not be changed. So when Prophet Noah Joel said for you to go back to the mindset of your ancient foremothers and forefathers, that was, and to study, that was what he was speaking about, because there's more study to do. And we know now, in this age of Aquarius, which is information, that these things are coming to the forefront for all of us. I'd like to ask, have you gotten, and I'm pretty sure you have, the proclamation that came down from Mecca, from the mayor of Mecca?
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yes, Mayor of Chicago, which is Mecca. Okay. Are you aware that just yesterday or 2 days ago, 2 other mayors here also affirmed that proclamation?
No. Which ones?
No? All right, we'll have it on the site. The mayor of Baltimore and of Omaha, Nebraska. So the consciousness is absolutely here, and we have to just take our places. And for the sisters, we really have to know what our, I don't want to say place, so I guess place in all of this is, and our obligation. It's really an obligation. Now, I like the fact that behind me I have the same picture, right? However, a brother, what's his name on here, I'm sure you've seen this, he kind of colored it in, and it makes it look really beautiful. And it says, when she awakens, humanity will be redeemed. But of course, because she's the one who brings in humanity. So that would have to occur. Absolutely have to occur. I also would like to go through so we can really tie in how all of us are associated with the 5 principles and the 5 lights, and the word Islam, and as an acronym, meaning I, self-law, and master, when it comes to master being mother, and then as you develop this I, self-law, am master. And I bring you for the Taj Tariq Band.
Let's talk about this 100-year cycle. It's interesting. One of the things that I want to mention, in harmony with what Sister Roz was speaking of, which you all know, on the cover of your questionnaire, where the prophet has woman unconscious, and there's 9 drops of water coming off her body, and yet on her womb is written the word humanity. That is key because it can be equated with the principle of application that the high priest sorcerers use systematically to remove Bayit from the Kabbalistic alphabet, from the Hebrew alphabet, for the purpose of setting up the conditions for the Pope and the bishopric to rule the planet. And therefore, as people begin to study the books, the old scripts, the old literature, the old culture, they must be aware that the priesthood, the dark side of the priesthood, removed the letter and the character teachings from of Bayit, which is also referred to as Beth, which is the second letter of the Kabbalistic alphabet, which is referred to also as the Hebrew alphabet. And that principle is symbolized also on the cover of the 101 questionnaire with the woman being unconscious. And so it is representative of the nature of taking the feminine principle out of philosophy and out of the metaphysical teachings of true religion. And when people begin to study ancient culture and religion and approach it just from the carnalistic masculine principle as set up by the popes of Rome and other disingenuous persons, their concepts will come out imbalanced and absolutely incorrect. Because all true religion is based on the mother-father principle, i.e., or what is known as Aleph Bet. Now, in the Kabbalistic Aleph energy, the letter Aleph is the only letter in the Aleph that expresses not a sound of its own, but yet it is the source that gives power and energy to all the rest. And thus, that is the principle on which the masculine energy is expressed through the letter Aleph, and is expressed or comes to life, giving life, expressed in life as the breath through the womb of Dayet, or what you call the house of God, which is the second letter of the Kabbalistic alphabet, which is the feminine principle, and it is upon this principle that you get the symbols of yin and yang, or the mother, father, son principle, or the divinity principle, the creation of the offspring, and this is where you get mother, father, son, and that has also been corrupted by the priesthood saying the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, which in its original form is mother, father, son. So that must be understood, and that must be comprehended by all adepts when they're looking at the cover of the questionnaire, because that is a key, a graphic key for redemption, having that comprehension and understanding. And of course, since all life comes through woman, comes through the womb, it is most important for people to go back into the principles of the mother-father principle when reading all ancient scripture to bring balance back. And therefore, as the woman becomes conscious, so will humanity be redeemed. And this is another code reason why in the graphics, humanity is written on her womb. I just wanted to bring that to your attention, although most of you who are adepts already know that. I know that some people are not aware of that because some adepts will not tell that part of the lessons that they themselves have and should have been delivering to Moors, and they have not done so. So just in case, I'm making sure that is known by all the listeners so that you can become what you should have been 100 years ago, and that is pretty much proficient in this information and science, i.e. adeptus or emeritus. And that's where those titles come from. So I just wanted to show that, speak that as an interjection. Also, for those who have limited information, those who have been cribbed by the dark priest in the church, you will find the Kabbalistic alphabet in the book of Psalms, starting with Psalm 119, and so you can write that down. So that's for those who would try to deny that, and that is a necessary instruction for all to even understand how to read those books. And so when you read those books and then you go into the Zohar, you'll also understand the Quran even better. The Quran from the Holy City Mecca, Muhammad Ali edition, or the Mulana Ali edition, too, you would understand them better because they're all Kabbalistic. The unfortunate situation that we have on the planet is that the priesthood, the imams, the rabbis, the grand sheikhs, etc., and those who have been in positions of power over the lives of people have known these things and have held them back and have not been telling the people. Therefore, when the people go into the literature, their concepts are usually wrong. And this is again why Noble Drawley says, relative to the Historical 7, why he tailored that book particularly for us to bring us out of darkness into marvelous light. But again, let's talk about this 100-year cycle. Now, the Prophet Noble Drawley said the old Canaanite temple in 1913, actually 1912, but it was solidified, or what you call set in an operative order in 1913. And its purpose is for the uplifting of fallen humanity, and logically for the return of the birthright of the direct descendants of the world's largest and oldest estate, i.e. the descendants of the ancient Canaanite Moabites, i.e. the descendants Al, the Moroccans, Amoricaans, Americans, etc., the direct descendants of the ancient ones. And of course, knowing world history, as time passed with us having become corrupted by our own misgivings and violating the principles of our ancient mothers and fathers, our estate fell into the hands of the bishoprics of Rome. And coming more to contemporary times and modern times, as you would say, to understand the politics of the world, of the contemporary world, one must know of the Spanish Inquisition was set in order primarily by the popes of Rome, but one of the primal popes upon which these operations were expanded is Pope Innocent III with his Inquisition General, Inquisitor General Thomas de Torquemada. And that is the foundation of the modern world's politics across the planet. And the agreement of the bishoprics with different heads of states and princes of the planet with the execution of those determinations made by the popes of Rome. This would include the later bullas that have been ruling the world, and one of the most well-known later bullas from the church is the Pontifex of 1492 and Intercatera Divina of 1493. And these are fundamentally the foundation for the drafting up of rulings, ordinances, and statutes by your corporate entities operating under European British rulership for world conquest in concert with Opus Dei and the Jesuit order. And this would be known as the Secret Treaty of Verona of 1213 AD between King John of England and the popes of Rome. And of course, in reflective harmony with that, bringing up to more contemporary times, you must know, and we must know, the relationship to that activity with a member of the order who is known as Woodrow Wilson, who was the praetor who was operating at the time when Prophet Noble set up the Old Canaanland Temple. Woodrow Wilson was president for the United States Corporation. And in 1913, this is when he met with representatives of the bishopric order, of the dark order of the priesthood, for the Roman order, inclusive of other members of secret societies and the bankers, etc., having a special meeting off Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia, and with the intention of transferring the government into the hands of the popes of Rome. And while it could not be done in one swift move, they set up a system by which it could be done incrementally, step by step, creep by creep, etc., by encroachments and methodologies of creating color of law systems and color of law, color of authority systems, and color of office entities, etc., and including the introduction into North America of what is known as dead pledges, which have been called mortgages, and thus the liens that are placed against them by virtue of all hypothecated properties of the Moorish Empire placed and hypothecated unto the bishopric of Rome under that secret treaty of Verona, etc. And essentially, without making things complicated, that is the foundation of the modern world's politics, and particularly with the poverty that our people are experiencing in these days to such extreme forces that they are, and to such extreme degrees that they are suffering, including the adjoining misinformation which was designed to accommodate the same. And so the establishment of color of law was a necessity to accompany the earlier established freedmen, closing of the Freedmen's Bureau and the establishment of the 14th Amendment under 9 radical Republicans with the intent of bureaucratizing forced servitude and peonage, which they connotatively refer to as slavery. And so when the prophet Noble Ali said, I came to redeem you from mental slavery, which you have now, has much to do with the politics of the closing of the Freedmen's Bureau and the establishment of the 14th Amendment, creating the artificial person upon which the mystery of persons systems was constructed to call the gray area by which people would be blinded as to what personage is, as to what persona is, and as to what is known as the masking of peoples and things and blending them into a bucket, creating the nom de guerre war machine that is used against the people today and also used to escheat all properties, all labor, all institutions, all non-profit corporate entities, etc., and later creating a 1040 contribution tribute form, which is to accommodate the tribute made to England with the breakup transfer made into the bishoprics of Rome. And so the 1040 form of the Inquisition operations is known as the 1040 form of the Internal Revenue Services as a tribute to England. And this is where they get their petition or their payments of the scales that they send to the bishoprics of Rome under the secret treaty of Verona. Also, all properties, etc., have been hypothecated and then delivered to the hands of the Roman Empire, i.e., the conditions that Noble Ali came to cure, and thus he came with a cure for the sin-sick world and brought us back some of the key information that comes down from our ancient mothers and fathers in order to redeem us from our sinful ways, which is the ignorance that we've been suffering from. And it is the duty of all Moorish Americans to study themselves, to go back to that state of mind of their ancient forefathers, to bring this information up, to put it in written form, i.e. the prophet said in order to change the people, you must change their literature, and then take this stuff and information and the corrected concepts to the four corners of the world, to all nations, i.e. and take our places amongst the affairs of men. Statement being made because, as we were talking earlier, after a 100-year cycle, many of the Moors of America are not only unconscious of the true mission of the prophet, they have been influenced by many who have misrepresented the mission of the prophet, and they have run into complicated issues relative to many who have deliberately held certain information back, which has caused the Moors to be incompetent in their affairs. And so it's important that we touch on some things to correct those things, because no one can regain your lost estate but you, because you must demonstrate competence and understand both the politics and the reality of what's going on, and know the distinction between religion and dogma, the distinction between money and fiat, the distinction between de jure and de facto, the distinction between jurisprudence and fraud, prima facie, ordinances, etc. And these areas are where we've been most consistently injured, and these areas are areas that we really need to fix. We really need to fix them. So let's just talk, and let's talk about some things concerning us being Moorish American and this 100-year cycle, and some things that we can do to so-called bring a cure to some of this stuff. Islam, Moors, let's open up. Islam. Arise and give honor to Allah, and to His most holy and divine prophet, Noble Drawley, and to all the wonderful works He brought unto us. And I give honor and respect to all the Moors around the country, all our land, to the north, to the center, and to the south, who have been true and loyal vanguards to the movement and to the cause set up by our prophet Noble Drawley. I give honor and respect to those most succinctly who have been true to the cause and have been doing much work to aid in the uplifting of our people and of humanity at large, etc.
First I rise giving honor and praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sustainer of all the balanced universes. To the illustrious prophet Noble Drawley, who came in these days and times teaching the Moors to be themselves. When the Moors have fell into the graves of Negro, black, colored, Ethiopian, African American, or any of the other names that the pale-skinned nations of Europe choose to place upon the Moors. For we know these are very simply misnomers, and that these are not the names or titles that belong to the Moors. Islam?
Islam.
To our flag, the Moorish flag, the red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center, representing the 5 highest principles that are known to man. That is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Our flag, the Moorish flag, has flown on these shores, Moors, not 10,000 years, but over 50,000 years. And what you have to understand about that is that flags don't come into existence without people who create them. So that means that there had to be people on the earth over 50,000 years who look like you and I, who are the Aboriginal and Indigenous persons, wherever we stand, who put that flag in the earth. Islam? To those of us who are in the Americas, we have this part of the Americas, we have the trade and amity banner up, and it's only a divine reminder to the Moors that the European nations owe the Moors and they owe us in compound interest. The issue is that for a long time, I don't want to jump ahead of myself. As well, I want to acknowledge the forerunner, the forerunner of our prophet, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who was John the Baptist, who was crying out in the wilderness. And then, last but not the least, I'd like to acknowledge our prophet, Noble Drawley, who came strong, boys. I mean, this is a man whose vision is still being unfolded. When he came, he said he came to deliver the divine plan of the ages, and that hasn't changed. So I want to acknowledge them. But as well, today is a special day as well because I don't know if you Moors are familiar with the Orisha, but there's an Orisha called Ogun.
Yes.
And we had the opportunity to have Ogun live amongst us. And his name was Dr. Khalid Muhammad. And today is actually the anniversary of his birth. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Dr. Khalid Muhammad for his great work, for the uplifting of fallen humanity, and for teaching our people who we really are. A very, very, very powerful brother, man. If there ever was an Ogun incarnate, he spoke volumes to representing who Ogun is. To the Moors in Canada, starting with the Grand Sheikh Cujo, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I mean, he's my brother and friend, and I mean, there's not enough that I can say about him or the work that he's done in Canaanland. And it would be insane for me not to acknowledge that we've done something that the prophet Noble Drawley began but didn't finish in his time. He actually took some trips to Canada. Now I think part of the article should be in the museum, and he met with a doctor there in Canada with the emphasis on actually starting a Moorish Science Temple of America in Canada, because right before that he'd already went to Cuba and he went to Mexico and set up Moorish Science Temple of Americas there. Just to begin to reknit the Moroccan Empire, the ancient Amexem Empire. One of my favorite poets, his name is Saul Williams, and he has a piece in it, and it goes something like this. Our relationship seemingly falling apart at the seams, but our grandparents were both seamstresses for a reason. So Noble Drawley was the actual seamster. He was the actual person who took the thread and the needle and began to sew the things back together for the rebuilding of our empire. And that's exactly what we have. We're in the embryonic stage. And for a long time we've been talking about nation building, but what we have to understand, Moors, is that this is a protracted struggle. This is going to take time. It's going to take our children to be taught. That's why it's so important. A lot of times when we had classes and stuff like that, it'll be packed with elders, which is not a problem, with the fathers and mothers, but the children weren't in the room, which is very important. The children have to actually be present in the room. Islam? That's the key to the kingdom, because without them, we won't be able to continue the continuity of what the prophet Noble Drew brought us. You know, in the old Louis 5, it talks about how old palm fronds only extend to a certain point, but the younger palm fronds extend beyond the older ones. So we have to make sure that, and even on our charter, it says to extend the learning, to go beyond where Noble Drew Ali himself actually took the Moors. Y'all with me, Moors?
Islam.
Islam. So, as well, I want to, just acknowledge Dr. Khalid Muhammad. 100 years after the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Wow. First, too, I'd like to acknowledge the fact that I don't have a fez on. I'm actually traveling in Atlanta. I've been here. I was only coming here for like a weekend, and I've been here for 2 weeks working. So I apologize. But I mean, nation building is a tedious piece. So I apologize, and I actually ran off and left my fez. So, but I'm here. So I apologize for my attire. And now that I got that out of the way, let's get the ball rolling. Noble Drew Ali 100 years later. Noble Drew Ali was more than what meets the eye. He actually was a being who came with a multi-layered conversation, a multi-layered doctrine, and we call that eternal gospel. And what that multi-layered doctrine looked like was as they say in the Masonic Lodge, you were divested of something. But what Noble Drew Ali, and that means that they took something away from you. But Noble Drew Ali came to reinvest us with something specific. The first tool that he gave us was a knowledge of who we are. If you look on the cover of the Circle 7, it says, know thyself. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. So the first thing that has to be understood about what Noble Drew Ali was talking about is the theme of the Circle 7. And I borrowed this from the Jehovah's Witness. They would ring my doorbell when I was a young man, and I would open up the door and we would start to talk. And they pressed it in until it became a part of every part, as the Circle 7 says, that the theme of the Bible was about the kingdom. That's what they say. Well, the theme of the Circle 7 is that Allah and man are one. After you got that down, then you understand your role on the earth. In the Quran of Muhammad, it says that he created man Khalifa fil Ardut, which means in Arabic, he created man as his ruler or successor on the earth. So that means that wherever we stand, we ought to be the rulers. A perfect example of how we were divested of something. The most powerful people in the world today who dictate to the world are the Arabs. But Noble Drew Ali taught us in the 102s that we are the original Arabians. If you understand how the creator of all the worlds does things, he puts things under the feet of his children so that they're provided for. Although there's conflicts all over the continent of Africa, there's also diamonds and platinum and gold and rhodium and all these precious elements that could actually eliminate any kind of poverty, But as well, the great creator Allah put us in oil-rich parts of the planet as well, right? So all of that has to be understood, that we were provided for, but we were divested of our birthright and our nationality. And you have an imposter standing up to claim something that isn't his. So like the story of Yaqub talks about the supplanter, we were supplanted by someone. The Indians and the Pakistanis now take the position that they're the guardians of the holy city of Mecca, when we know that that's us. There was a book written in the 10th century by an Islamic scholar named Ibn al-Jahiz. And Ibn al-Jahiz talked about, and this is his language, he says that Muhammad himself was the son or the descendant of 10 dark lords. And he used a particular word in Arabic to describe what Muhammad looked like. Okay? He used the word aswad. And the interesting part about that is the Arab world would have us believe that Muhammad didn't look like us. That he looked other than us. He looked like an East Indian or something. Not that I have a problem with East Indians. I just wanted to be clear about where we're standing was given to us for a specific purpose. And I'm showing what we were divested of and how to get back there. That's the one, 100 years after the Prophet Noble Drew. Y'all still with me?
Yeah, Islam.
Okay, I can't, everything is pitch black, so I can't see anything. So. Okay, so because of that, we have to understand that we have to take steps first to get back to the nationality piece. Though we understand that we're the vice regents of Allah on the earth, that means that we rule the whole earth. You know, remember, if you go back to the letter that was written by George Washington in his conversation with Sultan Sidi, it talks about how they owe tribute to the Moors for allowing them to even come to the Americas. When the Americas were first established, it wasn't even called America first. It was called Virginia. Okay, let's get that clear. And it was just a little small place. What the Europeans did is when they were on the ships, they created these compacts. One of them was called the Mayflower Compact. And before they actually came to the shore, they created government and brought government on the shore. And that equals the Admiralty government of today. But what you have to understand about that is that though that may be so, we were already here. So if we were the Aboriginal indigenous person, and we ourselves have defined what a Moor is. Because again, the most powerful weapon in the hands of a man who will wield it or a woman who will wield it is not a gun or a knife or a machete or anything like that. The most powerful tool that we can have is the power of definition and what we define as reality for ourselves and our families. So we said that a Moor is an Aboriginal and indigenous person of North, South, and Central America and all of the adjoining islands. That means wherever we are. If we're in Canaanland, if we're in Eskimo proper, if we're in Puerto Rico, if we're in Trinidad, you know, if we're in Jamaica, you know, if we're in Barbados, is the land of the Moors. You follow me?
Yeah.
Okay. You gotta forgive me. Sometimes I'm trying to get a lot of stuff in, so my brain is moving faster. My mouth is moving faster than my brain is telling me what to say. So I apologize.
You're good.
But I'm gonna promise to get as much in as I can for the time that we have. Okay. What's interesting about the relationship of Noble Drew and what he was doing, as he was sewing the things back together, there were Moors who were standing with him who had on fezzes who were unsewing and pulling the garment apart that he was sewing back together. And that's what Grand Sheikh Taj, who I want to acknowledge as well, one of our strong soldiers and fighters on the battlefield for the Prophet and his Moorish Divine and National Movement, is Taj Tariq Bey. As well as Lord Nature Il Bey, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. These two Grand Sheikhs, again, they're powerful brothers unto themselves, and they lit me on fire with truth and holy zeal. So I have to acknowledge them, okay? But one of the things that Noble Drew was doing, he was knitting it back up, but there were Moors who were attempting to undermine him at that time. Really similar to what was going on with Marcus Garvey during the time when Garvey was rolling. You had the establishment of the Boulay during that time, which is an organization that was designed to work against any progressive leadership that was melanated. So they wanted to get rid of anybody who actually, and they used W.E.B. Du Bois, unfortunately, to actually work against the Honorable Marcus Mozart Garvey. But, which is really kind of insane, because at the end of Du Bois's life, he winds up adopting the ideals of Marcus Garvey. He actually expatriated himself from the Americas and went back to Africa and repatriated himself. So it kind of defeated the purpose. Somebody trying to say something?
No, you're good, you're good.
Okay, so it kind of defeated the purpose.
Hello?
But there were agent provocateurs who were in the movement who were attempting to, and still are, attempting to pull the movement apart from the inside.
Excuse me.
You know? Yes.
Isn't that the same as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X?
Really similar. More. There were people who were working in between Brother Malcolm El Hajj Malik El Shabazz and Martin Luther King to stop that meeting from happening, to actually unite those two minds. Those were two very, very powerful minds who had, at the time, had those two minds been put together, they would have been a very formidable opponent for the people who they were fighting against, i.e. the United States government at that time. Mm-hmm. You know, the U.S., mm-hmm. not the Republic. The Noble Drew talked about, the National Republic. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. A lot of the Moors think that we're insane because we talk about you know, America being this corporation and this fiction, but any nation that is insolvent and doesn't have gold and silver is a fiction. Most of the nations like that belong to the United Nations. And the United Nations exist for bankrupt nations. That's why Taiwan is not a part of the United Nations, because it's a gold-rich nation. I know I got off the subject a bit, but the movement between Malcolm and Martin and Garvey and even Noble Drawley, because right at the point where Marcus Mosiah Garvey met the prophet Noble Drawley, they deported him right after that. So they didn't actually give them the opportunity to forge this cohesive alliance that will be strong enough to move our people from A to Z. Because what you got to understand about Marcus Garvey and the prophet, the only distinction in the work of the two is that Garvey had everything, he laid everything out except for the nationality piece. Noble Drawley brought the essential piece, the nationality piece. Noble Drawley said, we are today what our ancient forefathers were yesterday, which is very important. Garvey actually was looking for something to call us. Garvey was actually looking for a religion or a tradition to bury us in. He wasn't sure if it was the Hebraic idea. He wasn't sure if it was an Islamic idea. So what he did was he kind of merged the two and had us work from that particular paradigm, which was brilliant, because you can have the best of both worlds. But before that relationship was really forged, they deported the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, you know? Perfect example. In the United States, there's something called UN resolution. No, I'm sorry. It's called I can't think of the number, but what it is a resolution, executive order, pardon me, during the Carter administration, President Carter, and it talked about the relationships, and this is their language, the relationships of the Africans in America and the Africans in Africa, and forging a wedge between those two so that the two never meet. So the game has always been the same. You know, that's why Noble Drawley came to begin to teach the Moors to be themselves. If we can just be ourselves, it'll make sense to us that we should unite with our brothers who have all of the resources that you can imagine. Imagine someone whose backyard is full of diamonds, but they don't have a way to extract the diamonds out of the earth. A very wise friend of mine told me about 10 or 15 years ago, and it's a very important book. If you don't have it in your library, you should have it in your library now. It's written by one of our great scholars. He's returned to the ancestors now. His name is Walter Rodney. Anybody familiar with him?
Yes.
He wrote a book called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. He was from Martinique. I mean, for some reason or another, they put a bomb under his car. I wonder why. He was having a conversation. He was having a conversation about why Europe was so involved in African affairs and why they're still involved today. It all boils down to three things. It all boils down to three things, Moors, and that's God, gold, oils, and diamonds.
Study Moorish Holy Quran lessons. Don't be fooled by the leaders saying they black, taking yellow envelopes, weighing they stacks, sold you out to the lodge, and government corpses sacrifice their own to their pale god bosses. Don't be fooled by the leaders saying they black, taking yellow envelopes, weighing they stacks, sold you out to the lodge, and government corpses sacrifice their own to their pale god bosses. Moors been telling, never to the point of yelling, like black power cowards slaving, never rebelling, backstabber, all talk, never killed a cracker, or kill their own like overseers for slave master, kill their own mentally, not a physical death, not in full life, only civilly dead is left. If you went right, you look up to a conscious dyke, abandoning birthrights for a monstrous fight they're not prepared for, cause you don't study, lack of mental exercise, get minds water sluggy, savior waiting, when Drew said save yourself and learn to love, instead stop hating, shells filled with black books calling us Moors, no need for four-legged beasts, mauling us Moors, cause status sets the stage like a costume ball banquet, suffocate devils with a Baphomet blanket, more on my vessel, not anchor but anchor, we civilized sellouts will tell you we conquered, and got everything handed down like a sofa, but Europe comes from a Moorish queen Europa, America America comes from Morocco, not Vespucci. Egypt is America in Illuminati movies. Bruce Almighty used Morgan Freeman as God to prove black can't be, so stop living a fraud. Wake up, can't you see your own sold you out? Wake up. Can't you see your own sold you out? Wake up. Can't you see your own sold you out? That's what Moore's been telling you about. Don't be fooled by the leaders saying they black, taking yellow envelopes, weighing they stacks, sold you out to the large, and government corpses sacrifice their own to their pale god bosses. Don't be fooled by the leaders saying they black, taking yellow envelopes, weighing they stacks, sold you out to the large, and government corpses sacrifice their own to their pale god bosses. Yeah. Noble Drew Ali told y'all, you're not Negro, black, colored. So anybody selling you that, know that they're selling y'all out. Anybody selling you that, know that they're selling you out. Kia, what up? The next lecture, Brother Seton Rabe, during Caravana, when Caravana time was here, I got a call from the brother that he's going to be coming down here. You know, he just wanted to see what the vibe of the temple is, because he's not coming here for no Caravana. He's coming here to check the Moors, right? So when we have individuals that are outside Canaanland, where so-called city of Toronto corporation does business, we're going to make sure that, you know, we give these people their time, because there's a lot of Moors out there that have information but don't really get the opportunity to put information up, right? For whatever reasons, right? The brother made it a duty to be here, right? Came from Philly to be amongst the brothers and sisters in Canaanland for Drew Ali Day. And that says a lot, so we want you to give him your attention, your time, and I'm sure he's got something for you. Brother Seton Rabe.
Islam, everybody. Islam. As brother said, I came from the territory of Philadelphia, and initially he said Skype, but Skype wasn't gonna cut it. I had to come and see y'all, because I had only met the Grand Sheik, and I think one other more when I was up here in August. So I had to actually come and lay hands on some people. The brother Najwa, I've been talking to him on the phone since August. And all we had was pictures. I sent him a picture, he sent me a picture, but it's a beautiful thing to actually be here and see him in the flesh. It's a beautiful thing to be able to be here and see all of you in the flesh. So I want to thank the Grand Sheik for having me up here. And I want to thank all the Canaanland Moors for welcoming me and treating me like family. So that's got the date up here, January 11, 2014. Prophet Noble Drew Ali Day, Toronto Territory, Canaanland, northwest of Mexico. As the Grand Sheik said it when he was up here speaking, people get confused when they talk about Africa. We're standing in Africa. Northwest Africa, Southwest Africa, to the south of us, what they call South America. Central America, what they call Central America, and the adjoining islands. It's all one land. So we need to clear up that confusion. Too many people saying, go back to Africa, go back to Africa. We never left. As he said, we were already here. One thing I like to point out to people when people act confused when they say, the Indians were here first. Why is it that we can go down to Mexico and we can find pyramid structures that are older than pyramids in Kenya? Why is it that we can go down to Mexico to the Yucatan Peninsula and see statues that are as tall as this room and as wide as this projector screen here that look like each one of us and not any Indians? so-called Indians. It doesn't make sense to me that let's just say me and Omar and Cujo and the rest of these brothers came all the way across the ocean, landed down in the Yucatan, and they said, you know what? These are some great guys. We're gonna make some statues look like them, and none that look like us. That never made sense to me. So that tells me one thing: that it was us that made the statues, that we were here. Those statues date back to what they call 1500 AD. Some of them older. So we're talking 4,000 years almost. All right. Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, being a prophet's free national name. As Cujo said, you got a lot of people who hate on Prophet Noble Drew Ali. What they forget is Prophet Noble Drew Ali was a man. They forget that he breathed and lived just like everybody else. And here or there, he may have made a mistake, just like any other man. But the one mistake that he didn't make was coming to the salvation of us, Moors. People make a big argument on whether he knew Marcus Garvey or not. Who cares? Whether he knew him or not. He came to do his mission, and his mission was that. 1913, the whole Canaanite temple. 1925, the Moorish Holy Science Temple. I'm sorry, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. And in 1928, the Moorish Science Temple of America, MST of A. To do what? Take you from being what? Somebody talk to me.
Slaves, blacks.
Slaves, blacks. To take you from here. To take you from being Negro, colored, and black. And we have down here the slave names. I put this black flag on here because I challenge anybody to show me what landmass that flag comes from. Show me what part of the world that flag comes from. Show me a land called Negro. Show me a land called colored. And show me a land called black. If you can show me those lands and show me that my bloodline, my consanguinity comes from there, then I'll be proud to say I'm black. But since there is no such place, I refuse to say that I'm black. I said it before because the same dog that bit me bit all of y'all. The same dog that bit us bit everybody else that's out here. So we said it. We said black power. We said we were Negro. We said we were colored. But once I learned what Negro, what colored, and what black were, and what they meant, it was not hard for me to stop saying it at all. The prophet came to take us away from that. And he came to give us what? Somebody talk to me. One full of wolves.
Salvation.
He came to give you this.
Birthright.
He came to give you this.
Nationality.
Your nationality. Your nationality. Your birthright. Your bloodline. Your consanguinity.
Wow.
A flag to be proud to wave. A flag that's flown in this land for 50,000 years. He went out of his way to give you this back. To take you from that so-called flag that we just looked at. It was a nice flag. It's a nice black flag flowing in the wind. I like this one better. I got it on my shirt. I got it on the hat that I wore in it. I like this one better. Prophet Noble Drew Ali came to bring his people, Moors, us, you. The people that's out on the street that don't know that they're Moors. Back into the constitutional form of government. And as Cujo said earlier, a lot of people get confused when they think about the United States and then they think about Canaanland. They think we're in two different places. It's one jurisdiction. It's just like he said, they just partners. It's one jurisdiction. We're still in North America. Just because they put a cute little line, you know, that goes from one place to the next, they say, all right, you're not here anymore, you're here. It's one land that we gave them permission to inhabit, to do business on, to do commerce on. They didn't give us permission to do a damn thing. We gave it to them. One constitution. The brother Omar told me earlier that y'all have a, did you say a Constitution Act? An act is not law. An act is negative law. It's no different than an ordinance, a statute, or a code. It is not law. One Constitution, study it, understand it. As the brother said earlier, the original 13th Amendment had that 12th section that said people of African descent could never be citizens. We can't be citizens of their nation state because we're not a part of their nation state. A nation state or a state is a group of people with common interests, common bonds, common customs. We don't have that with them. We can communicate with them. We can do commerce with them. We can talk and laugh and joke with them, but we don't have much in common with them. What is a constitution? A constitution is a body of a fundamental principle or established precedents according to which a state or other organizations acknowledge to be governed. There's one constitution for the Republic of North America. When I left Philadelphia and I flew up here, I never left North America. I'm still here. All I did was came a little further north. The example I like to use for people who get twisted about America is this. I live in Philadelphia, but most major cities are set up the same. I'm sure Toronto is the same. I'm sure Toronto has an east side. I'm sure there's a west side. I'm sure there's a northeast, northwest, however you want to put it, it's still Toronto. Same thing in Philadelphia. The same thing in America. The only reason it's not one landmass anymore is because the Europeans put the Panama Canal in, so they can regulate commerce. One land, one constitution. The prophet came to remind you to honor your forefathers and foremothers. So many of us forgot about our forefathers and foremothers. So many of us don't know much about them, but we know a whole lot about their forefathers and their foremothers. We know about George Washington. We know about Thomas Jefferson, but we don't know about Elias Boudinot. We don't know about John Hanson. They told us that it was Captain Perry that discovered the North Pole. How come they didn't tell us Matthew Henson was there first? How come nobody went out their way to say it was a Moor that was there first, that was waiting for Captain Perry when he got there? Nobody told us that. We honor their forefathers and their foremothers. Prophet Noble Drew Ali came to remind us, get back to your ancient customs, your ancient culture. To take your place in the affairs of men. That means amongst the nations of the earth. When we go to China, we don't call them yellow, even though that's the, you know, we don't, when we go to the Chinese store, when we used to, I hope ain't nobody still going.
Exactly.
Who going? I hope ain't nobody still going. But we never said that we were going to the yellow store. Even though that's what they call them, the yellow man. We never said that we're going to the yellow store. We're going to the Chinese store. Because they know they're Chinese. When you talk about Portuguese, they know they're Portuguese. When you talk about Japanese, they know. Well, why is it that we don't have a nationality? Why is it nothing that we had to call ourselves? Nobody's going out their way to teach us that. Everybody who was going against the prophet and saying the prophet didn't do this and didn't do that, nobody else came to give us these principles. I don't have anything against Marcus Garvey. I don't have anything against Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. I don't have anything against any of these people. They are ancestors, warriors, scholars. But they didn't teach us this. As he said about Elijah Muhammad, he was Elijah Poole Bey. Bey. Same as me and the same as some of y'all. And then he became Elijah Muhammad and he took the fiat and he went left. He didn't stay right. He didn't take us where we needed to be. He went left. It was Prophet Noble Drew Ali that brought us this. Proclaim your free national appellation. Because we don't have names. Names belong to objects. We are natural living beings, people. And to reclaim your birthright. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said in his own words, I came to you, and I emphasize you, Moors, because you need me the most. With everything that we have, all the greatness we have, all of the athletes with all this fiat, all the nice cars and all of this beautiful homes and all of this stuff, we still in need. We're still in more need than anybody in the world. All these other people know who they are. He just showed us a picture of the Miami Heat, posted up with fences on, standing around smiling. I never seen that picture. But I know he didn't make it up. My man had a Moroccan themed birthday party. So as he said, he knows something. But what you got to remember is these guys are making millions of notes every year. And they ain't willing to compromise that to tell you anything. They like their pennies. They like their diamonds and all of that nonsense. You see what I wear? I wear crystals. I got diamond rings and stuff in the house I haven't worn forever. Because I know it don't mean much. I wear these crystals because they energize me. They energize my soul. Prophet Noble Ali also came to teach us law, civics, and national principles. Even though they say he didn't, even though they said the Moorish Science Temple wasn't a civic organization, and where we get it from. No Europeans came and gave it to us. No knock on them, but Marcus Garvey didn't give it to us. The Prophet gave it to us. He came to give us civics. He came to give us national principles. He came to give us love. We need to know all of this to be complete, because it's like hand in glove. You learn civics, you learn law. National principles, it's like hand in glove. All of this stuff we need to know, and we need to be familiar with. One thing I like to throw on people is this: when they say this might be a lot to learn, you're talking about all this law, you're talking about reading all of these books and all of this stuff. Think about this: if we got a bus, all of us in this room, and let's just say we drove back down to Philly. I'm gonna go show y'all Philly. But on the way down, I played nothing but a bunch of hip hop, and all of us knew all the words to all these songs from Toronto to Philly. And don't tell me you can't learn some more stuff. If you know these songs, as soon as they come on, as soon as you hear the beat, you at it. And don't tell me you can't learn. Come on.
Islam.
We are too intelligent of a people. Too intelligent. European scientists, not Moorish scientists, European scientists, they have said, and you can research this, that Moorish babies sit up, stand up, walk, talk, and write before the European children. Because we are born geniuses. Why do you think we keep saying all these articles with our children, 13 years old, on their way to college? We're born geniuses. We get to school and we get dumbed down. When they start teaching us the nonsense, how is it that mom can teach her child how to write at 3 at home? And then when they get to school, they come home and their handwriting is sloppy. They don't want to do their homework. They can barely read. But mom already taught you this stuff already before you even got there to get dumbed down. We got to get back to our own culture and our own principles. How important is nationality? Anybody in here have that question? Show of hands, anybody have that question? How important is nationality?
One.
Cool. I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you. How many people remember this? Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. Show of hands. So some people not familiar with it, okay. Tulsa, Oklahoma, what they call Black Wall Street, was a community that we had that was very, very affluent. In this community, it was said that the dollar changed hands anywhere between 12 and 26 times. So that means $1 that I spent with Omar, he's going to spend with Cujo, Cujo's going to spend with Amari, and then it's going to get all the way around the room and never leave. That means we're doing damn good. 600 businesses, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, 6 private airplanes, plus a hospital, a bank, a post office, schools, libraries, law offices, and even a bus system. Now, I want to be clear. This was not the only city that we had like this. There were cities in North Carolina. There were cities in Florida. This is not the only place where we had this type of commerce going on, where we had a booming economy. In 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma was known as the oil capital of the world. Most people think Texas when you think about oil on this continent. In 1921, it was Tulsa, Oklahoma. With a population of over 100,000 people, a chamber of commerce, and a petroleum club. Sounds like they were doing great. Tulsa, at the turn of the century, boasted the highest per capita wealth, not only here in America, but on Earth. And as I put down there, per capita means each individual person, per head. So that means they were doing really, really good. Now, I'm not talking about Europeans. I'm talking about Moorish. Y'all saw the picture I showed you. All right, I'm talking about a community we had. So in 1921, what else was going on in Tulsa, Oklahoma? You had a bunch of Europeans who just came back from World War I, who were not doing good as the Moors in Tulsa. They came back, they couldn't find jobs. They didn't have food to feed their families. They didn't have finance. And we got to look across town and we got to see these Negroes, these colors, these blacks, these niggers with pianos in their houses, with new cars, with tailor-made suits. They own schools, they learning better than my kids are learning. They ain't like that. Obviously, they don't like it now. You try to homeschool your child, they'll give you hell. So what else was going on in 1921?
So, could we please get a round of applause for Rick Smith? All the floor is yours, brother.
Okay. And this is exactly what the Greys wanted. Now they had this pale-skinned abomination right where they wanted them. So here come the Greys into Europe. They go to the pale-skins and they start feeding off of their fear, their denial, and, let's not forget, the invention of the ego. And they start saying all sorts of things to manipulate them to feed off of their fear, such as, oh, you know, if the Moors, if the Moorish legacy and the family man, if they really loved you, why did they cast you out? Why did they leave you here? Why did they abandon you? Obviously, they don't love you, but we care about you, and if you listen to us, we will give you all the power you need to take over this planet and destroy them. So the Greys manipulated every last bit of ego and based bitterness they could in the casted out paleskins and fed upon their fears. But here's the almighty conundrum. What were you really going to do? If they stayed in Africa, they would have destroyed Africa. So what else were you going to do with them? You couldn't kill them because, you know, they were still your brothers and sisters. So by casting them out to Europe, that was the only merciful thing to do. And on top of that, Europe was named after the African god queen Europa. And it was done as such as a sign to the Paskin to say, when you mature, when you grow up, you are welcome back into the family of man anytime. You are not banished. You are just being stuck here so you can think about your sins. Unfortunately, the Greys knew how to manipulate it the other way and got the Paleskins to become their obedient servants. And from that point forward, they said, we will give you all of the technology, emphasis on technology, not spiritualism. We will give you all the technology you need to wipe the floor up with the human race. Okay? We will give you everything. We will share our secrets with you over time. We will create, we will turn you into a titanic, unstoppable element that no one can stand against. All we ask, and this was the agreement, this was the pact that was made, they said, all we ask is your complete and total and undivided obedience to us, and if we do this for you, we demand that you go out into the world and destroy the family of man. Destroy the people of color in you. Destroy the sun-kissed people of Earth. And by doing so, the Greys intended to destroy the gene for passion, the Temple of Solomon, and the Passion of the Christ. Okay? And this is the beginning of the alien abduction phenomena. Because in that agreement or that pact was made, it was understood that not only did those original Paleskins owe their obedience and indentured servitude to the Greys and the reptilian queens, but every descendant after that, every last white Paleskin descendant, every descendant after that was permanently damned by that original agreement. And this is where you have all these problems with your white Christian elite having issues with demonic possession. There is no other culture on the face of this planet that has issues with reptilians or demonic possession. And I'm using those two terms interchangeably because if you took the time to research what these demons look like, supposedly, they are nothing more than bipedal Komodo dragons. Henceforth, they are the Dracos, the dragons, the reptilians. And the reason that is so is because they use a very high-level form of psychological warfare to invade your body and contaminate you. And there's no other philosophy or the religion on the planet that has this issue. There is no such thing as demonic possession. It is all reptilian. It is all the Canis feudal lords. It is all extraterrestrial. Once you empower yourself with that knowledge, you realize that the supernatural is actually extraterrestrial. In the movie The Exorcist, when they depicted the statue of the demon, what did the demon look like? It was a bipedal dragon standing on two legs, a bipedal Komodo dragon. Now, here's the other thing as well. Since we're talking about so-called demonic possession, we already explained where the term God and devil came from. How about this other ridiculous term, Satan? Okay? The high-ranking, pale-skinned reptilian queens are referred to as the Siakar. CIA-KAR. You notice the syllable C, the first part, Sia, looks like CIA. Goes a long way to explain why the CIA replaced the OSS after World War II. But the Siakar represent the high-ranking reptilians. Now, in the Siakar, there is the high-level pale-skinned reptilian queens. They are referred to as the Sita queens. And that is spelled SSS-TA, Sita. Now, over time, the word Sita becomes mispronounced as Satan, and therefore Satan. So there is no such thing as Satan or the devil or God, because these terms are all extraterrestrial in nature. Once you dismantle these terms, you dismantle their power. And when you dismantle their power, you dismantle the ability for the master corporation to use any form of psychological warfare against you, also known nowadays as the politics of fear. So that is what was going on there. And now, with that agenda, with that pact, with that agreement that was made with the pale-skinned outcast, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and for no logical reason, you have this tremendous European armada coming out in force, going after the four corners of the globe, campaign against the human race that manifested in the form of Native American genocide, the African Mulatto, and the Chinese open door policy. Three-pronged military agenda to wipe the floor up with the Moorish legacy, the family of man, and the people of color and hue. And it didn't stop there. Because along with the psychological warfare and the military agenda to destroy these so-called godless heathens, okay, that were conveniently, well, you notice how all the godless heathens are always 7 shades darker, okay, conveniently labeled as such. Along with the psychological warfare also came the agenda to, over time, poison the human being from the inside out via the modern-day high priesthood known as the pharmaceutical multinational. Okay? Now, that comes later on. I know I'm jumping ahead there, but I just wanted to throw that in there so you understand the overarching plot here against the family of man on behalf of the white, pale-skinned reptilian queens. Now, we're going to move ahead here a little bit to the founding of the United States. Okay? Because this becomes the next key element here in terms of the Moorish legacy and linguistics and the agenda. Now, when that pact was made by the Chetu regime, the term Chetu becomes mispronounced as Shedu, and Shedu becomes mispronounced as Shadow. Now, since the Chetu regime was the secret government manipulating everything from behind the scenes, they became known by extension as the Shadow government. And this is how the term shadow government comes into existence via the Chetu regime. Now, since they were also master masons, okay, they were allowed to walk freely among the population, and they were also known as Freemasons. When the pact was made with the pale-skinned outcast of Europe, this is where you have the beginning of the Masonic agenda. Masonic agenda, aka the ancient vendetta. The ancient vendetta to destroy the human race. Now, I mentioned before how the two-party system started with the reptilian queens, the Aryans, and the Canis feudal lords, the Canines. Okay. When the Greys took over the whole operation after they threw out Marduk, okay, they began a brand new type of a system of wanting to recede into the background and create yet another two-party system to run the whole operation for them. Okay? Now, in terms of them receding into the background, they become the upper elite, aka the shadow government by mispronunciation. And when they began to infiltrate the Egyptian high priesthood, and they took over the original Amun, A-M-M-O-N, and contaminated it with that other ridiculous spelling, Amen-Ra, A-M-E-N-R-A, they began to introduce a different kind of an element for the two-party system. They actually propped up two elements on a pedestal to run the operation for them so that they could stay in the background and nobody would know who they were. Those two groupings were known as once again, the executive branch, the Rock of Pharaohs, and the legislative branch, the Rock of Shields. All right? Now, over time, the term Rockefeller becomes mispronounced as Rockefeller, and Rothschild becomes mispronounced as Rothschild. This is how the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds come into existence. Now, once again, two-party system. Arians and Kenneth feudal lords. Rockefellers, Rothschilds. Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Republicans, and Democrats. Two-party system. You cannot escape the two-party system. We have seen it here in the United States over and over again. There has been any number of efforts made to introduce a third party. And every time that happens, it's sabotaged by a corporate agenda. And so what you have is this ridiculous, hypocritical, and bigoted third element known as the Tea Party, which is dumber than a doorknob and poorly educated on everything. And they have this psychoholic, radical element in them that is taking its marching orders directly from the corporate agenda, which reports to the high Masonic elite. So even if a third party could be introduced, it would be not a grassroots element, it would be an astroturf movement, okay? It would be fake, it would be fraudulent. As case in point, the Tea Party was created by this heinous element known as the Koch brothers. And there is nothing more psychotic than the Koch brothers here in the United States with relation to the oil industry, okay? I mean, it doesn't get any more pale skin than the Koch brothers. So as time goes on, this is where you get this frictional element evolving over time. Now, there's something that needs to be understood here. The Moorish legacy has nothing to do with racism, okay? It just so happens to be that the people of color and hue, the sun-kissed people of Earth, that is what represents the planet Earth. The pale skin represents this dead walking zombie, this outcast, this freak show that never should have existed in the first place and wasn't supposed to exist and represents a huge mistake that needs to be corrected. Okay? And as such, it is that opposing element, the Greys, the Reptilians, the Masonic agenda, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, they are the ones that turned it into a racist agenda.
King Boom!
The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what drew our lead, started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what drew our lead, started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what drew our lead, started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what drew our lead, started dropping it.
Dirty Moors still attempt to infiltrate the order. Active Moors are truth and take it to the corners. Across highways, past hedges and through borders. Move on dirty Moors like broken down waters. Watch out for agents and provocateurs trying to get next to the heads with the doctor cures. They never pay dues and don't pay dues, contradicting with King Alfred to give clues like news. Noble Drew Ali died some pale more blues. Prophet saved him his money before the floor fell through, and that's true. Even though I don't have proof, still memory tells me don't fall for spooks. Drop mental nukes, hanging from their own vine from the fig tree, looking up at them like Big B. No white flag or mercy for you. How old are you, Marty? 6 years old. So at 6, just by using his own common sense, he was able to answer the questions in the 101 questionnaire, right, at 6. But then we have, you know, people out here that are going through problems. You know, we use the example, they get in a situation, they want to go march, picket, lie down in the street for rights, when all they got to do is take into consideration a little bit of Noble Drew Ali, and they would put up their perspectives. Before we get to Set and Rabbe, one of the things that we do is we have a Noble Drew Ali award that we give every year to people in the community, organizations, businesses that take the position that we take of uplifting fallen humanity, right? Whether they call themselves Moors, whatever like that, is not even, the point is that they're doing the things to make sure that our people aren't stuck in this Negro, black, colored mentality where, you know, everything that they do is a loss. You know, coming into Moorish nationality, we start recognizing that we could actually get some wins out here against so-called beast system that's been taking advantage of us, taxing us. You know, give people, just put a yellow thing on your car, you go down there, pay it just because they put a yellow thing there, right? When it doesn't have to go down like that. So we're going to acknowledge a few organizations and a few people so that we can get to Brother Seth and Rob because, you know, he's going to go in. So the first Noble Drew Ali Award, we're going to give out two of these. One of them is today, and then we're going to give out some more tomorrow. The first Noble Drew Ali Award, we want to acknowledge 5 Principles Catering for their hard work, assistance, and help in uplifting fallen humanity from a holistic perspective. Because, you know, we already know that we have to get the knowledge in, but we also have to get the proper food in. So we just want to make sure we give 5 principles their honors. Make sure you go try the food, eat something, drink something, so that we can continue to keep ourselves nourished, right? And again, you know, these are people who we know that.
And this is
to
Ray Obey too.
Yeah.
He's going to be catering tomorrow, so he's going to fill you up.
So he's going to get his props tomorrow, right? But this is what we do as family. You know what I mean? We look after each other, right? We just got, make sure you put 50 cents in the pot, pick up your new edition of the Masonic Gate newspaper. We got them sitting right here behind Sister Adwa. The Masonic Gate newspaper, Volume 1, Issue 3. And this is put out by one of the good brothers in Philly, near Philly, Brother Abdullah El Talib Mozi Bey. And he's the master etymologist that's been teaching our people about the origin of this language that we speak, this English language, and making us, you know, look into etymology dictionaries and getting ourselves back in tune with what words really mean, so that when we say something, we're saying something that actually means what we say, opposed to saying that, you know, we're black when that's an adjective, and, you know, people can't be adjectives and things like that. So the Volume 1, Issue 3 is called Illuminati and Illumination of the Mind. And we also have other editions that's down there, so make sure you pick that up. So the next recipient is going to be Masonic Gate newspaper. If Seth and Ross could pick this up for Brother Abdullah. Once again, certificate is awarded to Masonic Gate for continually taking the steps to make sure that our people know something about themselves and a little bit more. So that's for Brother Abdullah. Yes. You deliver that. And I want to appreciate it. Also, MoorishCivilLetter.net is the website for our good brother, Abdullah Bey. I think the last one for today, we have, I'm just going to read something. This is from the Moorish Press, the Moorish Message, excuse me. There's a group of Moors we spoke about, actually we'll just put this out there too. Sister Crystal L and Brother Messiah L, they have a website called HolyMoorishEmporium.org. And Brother Messiah just put out 2 books. One book is called Who Are the Moors? And the other book is called Constitutional Law Explained. And we have those 2 books here. You could also get them on the website.
So say it one more time, the names of them?
The names, Who Are the Moors and Constitutional Law Explained.
How much?
Holy Moorish Emporium. The books are 20 here, on the site is 15. HolyMoorishEmporium.org. They put out a newsletter. This is the volume 1, issue 1 of this newsletter that they just put out called the Moorish Message. And I just want to read a portion of this with regard to the next award. Page 14. In the year 1913 AD, Prophet Noble Drew Ali founded the Old Canaanite Temple in Newark, New Jersey. The call was to put out to all the Asiatics of America to hear the truth about their nationality and birthrights. He explained, "You are not Negroes, colored folks, black, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must now proclaim their nationality to be recognized by the government in which they live." The movement spread across America during the 1920s as the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Prophet Noble Drew Ali dedicated pioneering the Moorish Divine and National Movement in attempts to instill racial pride among the people. Before he came to Chicago in 1925, the movement proliferated in Detroit, New York, Philadelphia, Camden, and to various southern cities. In 1925, Noble Drew Ali, wearing a flaming red fez, appearing on the streets of Chicago, proclaiming to the people of the Asiatic race that they were not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians. Finally, by 1928, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science adopted its corporate name, the Moorish Science Temple of America. This procedure of elevating the movement to the Moorish Science Temple of America from the Canaanite Temple in phases was to prepare the people for this great new thought movement. Now this was an article called "Misrepresentation of Identity. Was Kanye West wrong when he said George Bush does not care about black people? Equity and social justice from theory to practice." We had, sister that's in attendance, we had, she had this class project or something to do or whatever. And, of all the topics in the world, she said she's going to do her stuff on, why we call ourselves black people and all that stuff, right? So she does this thing, does the essay, gets a mark or whatever, does the presentation, and gets a lesser mark on the presentation than the essay, right? So what I was explaining to the sister was that when we start talking that we're Moors, we become public enemy number 1 to this so-called system that exists. Because the job of the system is to keep our people as dumb as possible so that they could continue to rape them, take advantage of them in any way that they see fit. So, the sister's in grade 12, right? And for someone to take the position, to have courage to go talk to her teacher or whatever with regard to these matters, when people are going to be writing about all types of crap that they think is important, right? We want to make sure that we let the youth know when they get on this information that they're on the right path, and to inspire them to continue, studying, learning with regard to this level of information. So the last award for today is for Sister Safi Yin El. You can come up and get your props. so that we can let them know that this is real. And once again, we'll be emailing the Morris message out. This is actually her first published piece of work. Woo! So, You know, the Moors, and again, with regard to the Moorish Message newsletter, they were looking for articles for the thing, and I sent it to them, and they were the ones that said, you know, we need to put this in here so that people could see that young people are on this information. It's not just, you know, our generation or whatever. So thanks again. Congrats. Information than somebody who you might have heard speaking about Moors for a long time. So without further ado, Brother Seth and Rabbi,
Islam, man.
Islam. Okay, and feel free to take any some punch to drink if you're thirsty at any time. All right. And it's here in the back.
I'm gonna thank Cujo for bringing me for allowing me to come back to this temple. When I came up here last year, no Buju Ali weekend, I experienced so much love from Canaanland Moors that I almost cried. I'm actually almost cried. I was tearing up. I was like, man, I can't cry. Like, don't cry, don't cry. I wasn't trying to show too much of this emotion. But it was no need in hiding from our family. No need in hiding from our family. One of the biggest problems we got, yes. No. I thought you thought. One of the biggest problems that we had as a people is emotion. And whether people realize it or not, or whether you fully understand it, you can control your emotion. Even when you read the definition, I got this definition from the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language. Obviously, it's a noun. Any strong feeling as of joy, sorrow, reverence, hate, or love arising subjectively, rather than conscious mental effort. That's what the definition says. Basically, that definition says that it'll just happen and that you can't control it. That it's not coming from you, but technically it is coming from you. If you spit on me, I can either get mad and react, or I can say, that brother got a problem. Now, I'm not going to write my face and say that brother got a problem. More than likely, I'm going to react. But the point that I'm making is I make the decision because I can control those emotions. Earlier, a brother slipped and fell outside. Now, normally when somebody slips and falls, you laugh. But we didn't laugh. Laughter is an emotion. Anger is an emotion. Here you go. Y'all forgive me, I left my fez at home, so I'm bumming one. So it's not fitting properly. These are emotions, right? Give me another one. That's anger. We got joy. Let's just say those, somebody with their hands up. I ain't no artist. But put it up, so here we got 4 emotions, right? We got happy, sad, angry, and we got joyous on the board. If any of y'all could look at me right now, what emotion would you say I'm feeling? Who?
Joyful.
Joyful?
Pleasant.
Pleasant?
Bliss.
Anybody else?
Bliss.
Bliss?
At peace.
At peace. Anything else? So we got joyous. We got joy, peace, bliss. What was the 4th one? Joy, peace, bliss, and what else?
Pleasant.
Pleasant. So on the board, we got happy, we got sad, we got angry, and we got joy. What if I told y'all I was feeling all 4 at the same time?
That could be.
Obviously, somebody would be thinking, how? How could you be feeling all of that at the same time?
You balance it. You
What's
just
that?
balance everything.
That's a bonus.
No?
I don't necessarily need 4 emotions to balance me. You know, you can get balance in a number of different ways, but I can't say that the answer is wrong.
No, I think she's pretty much saying you could balance the emotions. It doesn't balance you out. She's saying those 4 emotions that you're feeling at one time, you give each to a little bit of them, and then they become one.
You just the awareness of the emotions that could become like reactionary.
Well, you're aware of it always.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is I'm feeling all 4 at this particular moment. The happy, the sad, the anger, and the joy. I guess the happy and the joy will kind of go together. So then we'll just say 3. But how can I be feeling happy, sad, and angry all at the same time?
Because of what you know.
Because of what I know and because of what I see. Because I know that this one word is plaguing us and it's destroying us. We can't even, listen, we have explained 1,000 times what black means, right? I'll squeeze it in. You can read it to them lawfully. And these people say that they're scholars. You done seen 100 videos on YouTube with their face. You read their books. But they continue to promote that. It's the emotion behind the word. I heard a comedian say this. The comedian said, my great-grandfather was colored. My grandfather was Negro. My father was black. I'm African American. What are you gonna call my son? Well, why can't we think like that? Chinese man ain't never been called nothing but a Chinese man.
Same thing I say all the time. Like, it's just like if we were so quick to adopt all these names every generation or every couple of decades or so, why is it so hard to release this energy now and then adopt the name,
emotion,
the original name back to where we
because of the emotion. Let's examine black. Because of the emotion. The civil rights movement, right? The civil rights movement wasn't a black movement.
The civil movement.
No, wasn't civil because we wasn't calling ourselves black at that particular time. We was Negroes. Think back to Martin Luther King, the Negro preacher, the Negro this, the Negro that. He wasn't saying black. It wasn't until after his assassination, when James Brown was in Boston, and James Brown, whoa, y'all calm the hell down. I'm embarrassed my people acting like this. I'm black and I'm proud. And then he performed it. And that's it. Now we black and we proud. So you got the I'm black and I'm proud movement. You got the Black Panther Party for self-defense. You got the black films. All of this stuff after April 4, 1968. All of this stuff after that. So you got black this, black that, black. The black coalition, the black this, the black that. But right before that, we was Negroes in colors. It's the emotion behind the word Negro. Behind the word black. Now, Jesse Jackson gave you African American sometime in the early 80s. African American, sometimes they'll use them in the same sentence. They'll say the black people, blah, 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 but the African American community, which one? Because it sounds like you're talking about 2 different places. But we can't get past it because we stuck here. The same dog that bit me bit every last one of y'all. Because at one point we all said we was black. At one point we all said, yeah, all right, I'm black. I'm a black man. Black power. I understand. But let's take the emotion out of it and let's look at it from a lawful perspective. Let's look at it from a lawful perspective. Let's think about the status that it puts you in. Let's think about where have we gotten in the past umpteen years by saying black. Let's think about all the leaders. Let's think about all the people who was out front, who kept calling us black, who kept calling us Negro, who kept calling us colored and African American. You're talking about Martin Luther King. You're talking about Malcolm. You're talking about all of these people, informed or uninformed. Informed or uninformed. And don't get me wrong, I'm not pissing on the leaders. I would never do that. The only thing we do is we take their work and we build upon it. We don't knock down our foundation. We take their work and we build upon it. But when you look at him, Martin knew. Martin told you he knew. Listen to the mountaintop speech. Martin told you he knew. He just knew his time was up. He knew they was going to kill him. It's the emotion behind it. That was a tough era. That era is our parents' era. That's our grandparents' era. That whole civil rights time. So when you talk about emotion, they're full of it. You can't, not one of us in here gonna be able to tell our grandma she ain't black. Even though her mother wasn't called black. And even though her grandmother was called something totally different. We still can't tell them that we're not black because of emotion. Like I said earlier, it's arising subjectively rather than conscious mental effort. I want y'all to be absolutely clear that that definition is wrong. This part of the definition, arising subjectively rather than conscious mental effort. I need a volunteer. Anybody just come stand up here. He didn't respond. He didn't react. He didn't know I was going to push him. Now, if we was outside, I never seen you before today. Now, if I wasn't wearing the fez and I was outside and you walked by and I pushed you, then what?
I don't react.
You wouldn't react?
No.
I will. I ain't saying I'm going to break your neck, but I'm going to react. One way or the other, whether it's verbally, and if I think I need to react physically, I will, but I will react.
Indeed.
But at that point, I got a choice to make. That means I just controlled my emotion. When I pushed him, he could have pushed me back. I don't know this guy. I never seen him before today. I never seen him before today. He could have reacted. Just that fast, though. Just that fast. He controlled his reaction and he smiled.
So if there's any questions along the way, you know, give me a signal so I know.
Right. I just wanted you to speak on the compromised position of the counties and how Moorish should deal with that issue of getting blocked at the counties, or if they're in jurisdictions where the counties pretty much took the position of the corporate states.
Islam. So the county clerk, or let's just go back to the jurisdiction. The county seat of government predates the state's government. So the state has since changed that when the states became incorporated, they changed the role of everybody within their jurisdiction. So the counties became subordinate to the state through that occupational process. So now what occurs is the state revamps the duties and obligations of what the county is supposed to do. So now when we go down there, we're trying to follow a more common law process of filing our documents or holding them to a constitutional responsibility. And what they're really telling you is we don't go by that process anymore. Is the reason why they don't want to file, and the reason why they are capitulating and not doing the service of what the sovereign needs them to do. On different levels, you have to look at this. Number one thing they're saying is they're not accepting the fact that you are part and parcel to the government, that you're sovereign, number one. They're saying that you're still a slave, and what they're also saying to you is a slave can't file these documents. That's one thing they're saying, so understand why you're getting this opposition from many different levels. Most of the time you go speak to someone, you're not talking to the clerk, the elected clerk, you're speaking to an agent, a deputy, etc. They're hired to do a specific job. So you're always going to have to take it above them and speak to the one that was elected because they understand more of the constitutional law and obligation. The agents don't know as much as the one who was elected themselves. Going to the remedies of this. When they block you, most of the time they're going to give you a memorandum or a memo saying that they can't file it because it doesn't meet any criteria or indice within the county clerk's filing obligation. And here in the states here, they tell you that those filings pertain to real property. So one way that you can start getting things, they do the same thing here, but we still get it done. They deal with us on a case-by-case basis, and that's based on, it's really based on how much education and knowledge the individual has when they go and speak to these county representatives. So it's unfortunate that we have to deal with this on a case-by-case basis, but I'm gonna give you some information and some tactics on how to address this so that you could be more successful, not just with that department, but any agency that you go to, because they all represent the same agency. So because they're telling you that they can't file it because it pertains to real property, and if you get in some more info, if they're telling you a different reason, then you can let me know that and I can tell you how to address that as well. But the more common reason they say here is because your documents does not pertain to real property. Now, even the manumission documents didn't necessarily pertain to real property. It does and it doesn't. It does on the fact that we are part and parcel to the government, to the people, also the land. So what we're doing is not just proclaiming our name as it applies to ourselves, but we're also proclaiming our free national name. We're also proclaiming the name of our nation, i.e. our government, and it also covers the geographical jurisdiction or the dominion that we or our forefathers had dominion over, which includes this portion of North America, South Central America, South Central North America, i.e. the joining islands, Mexico, Canada, etc. Go across the Great Atlantis, now we're going back into a Mexum and different parts of the land there. But specifically, they only have jurisdiction on behalf of the particular county or the state's jurisdiction where they're holding their office at. So the county has a geographical jurisdiction, and they say that you're only supposed to file documents in that county if you live or if you're a so-called resident within that county. And we understand that resident is a corporate term that shows property of or chattel of the U.S. U.S. and we're not claiming that as a individual or a citizen. A natural person cannot claim residency. You understand? So we understand that we use the terminology of domicile, which pertains more to a natural person and not living within the jurisdictional bounds or geographical bounds of Title 26 of the United States Code of Laws. It states that anybody living within that federal zone or federal district, which takes you back to being property of the U.S. under the 14th Amendment. So for those that don't know that, you don't ever want to consider yourself as a resident, and you don't want to sign documentation or application that says that you're a resident, because that puts you in that zone or that jurisdictional limit of being an artificial person or being chattel or ward of the state. So you remove that terminology from your database. Going back to the county's jurisdiction, so they will only allow you to file documentation if you are within that county jurisdiction. But that's not necessarily true. You don't have to be a part or live within that county to actually file documents in that county. So you could be anywhere within the state's jurisdiction and still file documentation in a county even if you're not there or not. So don't let them get away with that. So you eliminate that argument. Number two, does your documents pertain to real property? Yes, it does. Because you are part and parcel to the land, so it's also come under land parcel. So you can construe your nationalization or your declaration of nationality and your proclaiming of your nationality to be tied into the landmass, and now makes you a true citizen of the land, so you're claiming your land back. So it's no different from if you're claiming property back, a particular lot and block number or a particular house or property. Just like you can claim that land through what they call a quit claim deed, this is another aspect of a quit claim deed where you claim in part and parcelship back to the land. And this is where the prophet was speaking about when he was speaking about the gold and the commerce. The gold, commerce, and the silver belongs to the citizen. and the citizens alone. He said, but you've got to proclaim that for that to be recognized by this being with you or within your jurisdiction. So by you proclaiming this, it's automatically tying you back to the land, and they know that. And that's another reason on a higher level why they're trying to block you from proclaiming in this process or this way of form. So there's many different avenues they're going to try to use to block you from doing this, because it changes the dynamics of a lot of things. And Moors don't let that discourage you when they don't want to follow your documents. Don't let that discourage you from keep going further and trying to get them to do this process. I tell Moors this when they come to me and want to proclaim. They say, how long does this take? I said, there's no particular time period applied to this process. It's all based on your will and how strongly you are encouraged to go get this done or make this happen. I says, we can't do this. It's not another Moor that can do this for you. Although there's some Moors will charge you and they would try to make sure that they get this done for you, and they would do this as a service. But that doesn't really teach an individual, and I don't like going that route. I encourage people to go down there and keep trying. If they knock you down, you get back up and go down there. Take hard work if you have to, and be persistent with this issue, because it's only going to make you stronger. You have to do this yourself, Moors. Islam?
Islam. I got a quick question for you, Francis.
Islam.
When you're talking about the applications that they have, and it says residential, it has all the other information that doesn't really pertain to us. Would you suggest taking that same application and making one in lieu of that application and putting our information on there as it pertains to us?
Absolutely. Certain applications that they might give you, or it could just be anything. It could be employment, or whatever you face with. If you don't have the opportunity to take it home and revamp it, it's just certain things that you have to have an eye for. You know, being an active Moorish American, you would automatically know what to look for. And I know that's where you're going, brother. But just for those who are not familiar with this, when you get a document in front of you, you got to quickly scan it and automatically know that the jurisdiction that they representing is going to have race down there pertaining to your ethnic group or status, whatever. They're not going to have nationality, so don't even expect nationality. Automatically look for where it has race, cross race out, and make your own checkbox there. They give you a multiple choice. Sometimes they might say other. I don't even recommend other. What I recommend is you check off, you make your own checkbox and write in there what pertains to you. You put there Moorish American, put your own checkbox there, and then you check it, and then put a line there and write Moorish American down for that. If it's something dealing with resident, you want to cross resident off, put domicile there. Wherever it says person, you want to cross person out and qualify it and put natural person. These are just one-on-one Moorish basics when we're dealing with applications and things like that that's already pre-formed for you. You go into a lot of places and it's a form that they tell you got to fill out. You don't have time to take this home and critique it. You got to quickly know what to look for, and don't be afraid, because sometimes they're standing in front of you. And they're going to see you start checking off stuff, and they're going to tell you, well, no, you can't do that. You can't alter the document. Don't be afraid to stand your ground and tell them, none of this applies to me. This is misrepresentation, and I have every right to check off what applies to me. It's not there, so I have to put what's there. Exactly, and not doing so is fraudulent on their behalf, and you can let them know that. And if they have a problem with that, then you ask them to, call in their supervisor or someone who's over them, and you explain that to them. Now, one of the issues that people have is pertaining to citations or traffic tickets, because some states and some places, if you're pulled over for a traffic violation or speeding, they give you a citation right there and ask you to sign it. And that right there, you have to quickly examine that document, and you have to write or sign with all rights reserved, or, without prejudice, all rights reserved. Whatever, take notes, and whatever you don't know how to do, you know, get with the Grand Sheik there, and they will, you know, have classes, which they had many classes on this in the past. But go back over this if you don't know, because you have to know how to navigate out here on a day-by-day basis, because this sets up what we call a paper trail, even with the applications and the forms. You have to fill it out right from the beginning, just in case you have to follow up with this on a higher court or a higher department within that jurisdiction, where they have to appeal it or review it at another time, or they try to hold you to a status and say, well, you filled it out this way. You want to be able to bring those documents back up and say, no, look at the way it was filled out. I did not agree to be with any jurisdiction or corporate ward, chattel property of the state. I'm not agreeing to be an artificial person. If you look at what I checked off and how I wrote it, I declared my nationality, I informed you of my nationality, of my status, and me being part and parcel to the land. Everything's here is documented. You agreed to it, that created a contract. Understand, when they present something to you, that's an offer. It's not until you agree to it and sign it and send it back, it becomes a contract. So when they first present it to you, it's just an offer. You do not have to agree to that. You don't have to agree to their terms and conditions. You change the terms and conditions and then give it back to them. Once they
Peace.
Islam.
Islam. Yes. Aquaba, welcome to our 6th annual Noble Drew Ali Day celebration.
Whether I'm coming to speak or whether I'm just coming to go to the annual cookout or just hang out, Omar's always got my back. Just want to thank everybody who ain't been tonight, because y'all always showed me love, always welcomed me with open arms, never deaf ears. I can communicate with you even if I'm not speaking, you know, smoking stuff on the phone periodically or text or however. So I just want to thank all of y'all and say that I'm happy to feel like part of the family. And of course, I'll always be back. What you got? So chapter 25, the circle ceremony of crime. We started reading this at meetings back in Philly, probably about 8 months ago. Back in like May or something like that. About 7 months ago. And once I started reading it, once it started to resonate with me, I felt the need to read it periodically. So I'll read it today. And hopefully it may resonate with some of you. Chapter 25, the Circle 7 Holy Quran. Divinely prepared by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Keep that in mind, that it was divinely prepared, not written by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It said, ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care. And the breast of one mother hath given you suck. Let the bonds of affection, therefore, unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and to unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of that father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, and your love to each other. That resonates with me on a lot of different levels. I don't know how it resonates with you. It resonates with me on so many different levels. And I felt it necessary to put it up there and read it today because of what we're going to go into. Initially, when me and Cujo spoke, Cujo asked me to do a virtual Philly tour, to basically just hit some major spots in Philly and put it together and do a tour. Well, there's a lot of stuff in Philly. You know, if you go back into history, if you know your history, and you know Philly was the cornerstone of what they put together down there when they put their foot in our land and decided to do. And it wasn't possible for me to just say, all right, I'm gonna take all of this to this little bit of time. It wasn't possible, and it was frustrating me. And I'm sitting there and I'm just going back and forth in my mind. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? I had a conversation with my wife one day last week, and I think it might have been about some of the brothers or some of the sisters down there. And she brought up the 5 principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And she said, maybe you should do a class on that. So initially I thought to do the class in Philly on that. But now over the course of the past couple of weeks, I got to struggle with tug of war going back and forth in my mind. Philly tour, principles. Philly tour, principles. Principles won out. I can always go Philly tour. But whether it's the Creator, whether it's the great God Allah, whether it's the ancestors, whether it's the Prophet Noble Ali speaking through her talking to me, said no, the principles. The other night, me and Cujo and my wife in the hotel, what we talking about? The principles. Yesterday, when we picked Jose to pick me in today from the airport, what we ended up talking about? The principles. A whole gang of us sitting around the round table and just sitting there talking about the principles. So, you know, I'm getting chills. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be talking about. This is the direction that we're supposed to be going in. So that's where we're going. We're going to talk about these principles. We're going to define them. And we're going to talk about it a bit. So I want to say this before we go any further. I like to do interactive classes sometimes. Sometimes I just get up there and I just go. But sometimes I like for it to be interactive. So that means I'm going to talk to you and you're going to talk back to me. Don't be afraid to raise your hand. There are no wrong answers. Say whatever it is you feel in your heart and in your mind. Cool?
Love.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The 5 principles given to us by whom? It's said by one of my teachers. These 5 principles cannot stand alone, and they are incomplete without each other. Love must exist in your mind, your body, and your soul for you to have truth. When you are full of truth, and truth needs no excuses, at that point in your life you can find peace. When peace resides within you, you can then experience freedom. And I put from and I put ... because whatever you're going to experience freedom from is what you are going to experience that freedom from. Whatever shackles you have on your mind, whatever shackles you have on your heart, whatever shackles you have on your person, you can find freedom. And once you have attained a level of understanding of love, truth, peace, and freedom, you have done justice to yourself and you can now become complete. I got that from Rosemary Bell. That might be a little dark. It says love, and I define it. So when I put the definition up there, I put the part of speech, and I put what's in the etymological brackets. Because I was taught that by one of my teachers, master teacher, Abdullah Iltali Mosabed. If you're going to define a word, then define it. In order to define it, you need to know the part of speech, and you need to know the mother, the origin, the etymology of the word. Now, this might get a little, it was just a little funny to me when I was doing it. So it says Saxon is the origin of the word. And you see it says, well, if you can say, it says Luvian, L-U-F-I-A-N. And then it says Luvian, L-U-V-I-A-N. And then it goes into the Dutch. And then it goes into the German. And then it goes into Russian. And then it goes into Latin. Can anybody see what this is, right? Sanskrit. What do you think that is? Sanskrit. Persian. Speak up, please. Sanskrit. It's Sanskrit.
Persian. That's what Persian.
Now, which one came first?
Sanskrit.
Sanskrit came first. How many years before Saxon? How many years before anybody that can call themselves Anglo-Saxon came out of the cave? How long ago did we have Sanskrit? But that's the last one that they put on here. So when you're talking the etymology of the word, the first one is the mother, right? And then everything else is the child. Saxon can't be the child. I mean, Sanskrit can't be the child of Saxon. See, this is why you have to know how to read. And this is why you have to be able to understand. I got these definitions. You'll see on the bottom from the Noah Webster's 1828 American Dictionary. This is pretty good on the original American Dictionary. I don't know if you have access to it up here, But if not, reach out to me, we got access to them, and we'll get it to you.
And it's a verb too.
What's that?
And it's a verb as well.
Right, you see it's verb transitive. I'm going to do a little sidebar right quick, and I'll tell you why this book is extremely important and why we should have it. Just a quick sidebar, get real good with me. Right here, in 1828, Noah Webster's dictionary, and we all know Noah Webster was an Albion. I'll show you this picture in a second. In this book, it says American, and it says American is a noun, person, place, or thing. A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals, meaning original people of the land, or the copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. That definition was written in 1828 by a European. It wasn't written by any of us. So that definition right there tells you who they knew back then were the original people of this land. And we sit here and we arguing with each other. Not us in this room, but us as a people. We arguing with each other about fact. And then they'll say, in their words, quote unquote, oh, that's a white man's book. Think about it. If the so-called white man, or Albion European, wrote that,
You did already, but would you be able to kind of clarify, like someone who doesn't know any better would say that the word black and Moor are synonymous? You explained it in Decline in Moorish Spain, so I don't know what
The term black, some people say, well, Moor is basically just another word for black, which of course makes about as much sense as saying that someone who is from Japan, or Nippon, is the same as yellow. Or somebody who was from Cambodia is a yellow American. Or is, these are the yellows, yellow power, right? It doesn't make any sense. The term black is intended to be a pejorative reference that Europeans imposed essentially upon African and Asian, just so you know, because I remember a few years ago, even in England, you had newspaper articles talking about two black men were arrested in London, then their names are Singh, S-I-N-G-H, and they were from India. So the term black was actually a reference to, again, this idea of a caste, particularly people who were from Asiatic lands. So Moor does not translate as black. The Moors would never answer to the term black, those who understood the English language. When Moors went into England and they, of course, learned the language, if someone called them black, those were fighting words. Because what you're doing is defining them as a black thing. Why? Because there's the Black Death, Black Night, Black Heart, Black Magic. If you know the language, you know that it's a pejorative. It's not a reference to a people, right? We never called ourselves black. But you hear people say, well, Kemet translates as the land of the blacks. And there we go again. Part of the problem is we don't know proper grammar. Blacks, you're taking an adjective and trying to make it a noun, right? We are a noun by virtue of being part of a nation. We're not black. Black is not our language. I mean, English is not our first language. Okay? English is not our first language. Europeans, specifically Englishmen, gave us, or we learned the English language, and we started hearing the word black and used it. Clearly, it's not a reference to people who look like this, because if that was the qualifier, most of us do not qualify. Right? It's a reference to a caste. When people talk about the war, was the War of the Roses, you have the white rose and the red rose. During the Russian Revolution, the Bolsheviks were the reds, the House of Romanov were the whites. Everybody was Russian. But you had one group that identified with the Russian that translated into English as white, the white Russians, meaning the royalists, and then the Bolsheviks, who were the red Russians. White is a caste reference, just as black is a caste reference when it's applied to groups of people. But Moor is not synonymous with black. Any more, and I'll say it again, any more than if someone says, well, you know, again, a Japanese person, then Japan is synonymous with yellow. Because we presume that we're using those color name references, right? When people will teach their children, say, you know, black, yellow, red, and white, we all come together, right? Yellow is supposed to refer to Asians. But do you ever hear Asians saying that we're yellows? No. Never. You never hear Asians say we're yellow Americans.
A lot of Asians are darker than us.
Exactly. Right. Right. You can find people from, I mentioned Cambodia, clearly India, who are 3 shades darker than you. Right? So it's not a reference to, and yet they qualify, if they are recognized nationals, as white. Right? I don't know the system in Canada, but the system in the United States, Federal Directive number 15 said a white person was any of the original peoples of Europe, North Africa, or the Indian subcontinent. Black was any of the, and this was deep, any of the black racial groups of Africa. So you define black using black. Black, any of the black racial groups. So essentially you're black if you think you're black. So if you want to self-identify as black, go ahead. There was a famous case about 20 years ago, Mustafa Hefni from Egypt, who said, and this was kind of bizarre, he was Egyptian, but he wanted to be defined as black. Because he was officially defined as white. Right. Yes.
I still fight that.
Right. Because he obviously doesn't really know what he's getting himself into. He doesn't know himself the real meaning of black. It's one thing if he was trying to convince, if you will, the black community, that the black community is black. You all are basically descendants of Egyptians and Moors. Right? But not, no, I'm going to define myself now as black because I want to be part of the black American community. Black people do. Right. Didn't make a whole lot of sense.
I just want to say, I mean, just listening to you, I've listened to stuff like a while now, but just listening to you explain it, I can't even imagine. I would hope all those black conscious people out there are always trying to say, well, where the Moors get their name? And then, but they can own black. Right. Where did that come from? Black is not ancient. They're trying to put Kemet and black together. Exactly. It's not an ancient word.
A friend of mine, a brother who is a chematologist, his name is James Conyer, teaches at Keene University, had the same conversation. He told me, he said, and he reads Medu-Neter. Right? I know a little bit. He teaches it. This brother teaches Medu-Neter, which is the ancient language of Nile Valley. Okay. He said the same thing. He said, you know, with all due respect, and he's a nationalist, he said the idea of saying that Kemet translates as the land of the blacks is problematic because the term black, when translated, has so many other meanings. Right? If you said it meant the land of the dark-skinned or the black-skinned people, then you're specifically talking about complexion. But we know in the English language, because of the corruption that exists in the English language, people are trying to make an adjective a noun. In fact, let me just go back and see if I have this. Richard B. Moore wrote a book called The Term Negro, Its Origin and Evil Use. This brother wrote this in the early 1960s and 1960s. He points out the first use of Negro or black as a noun occurs during the period of African subjugation under the Portuguese and the Spanish. So that's when it's imposed. First, it would have been Negro. Then the English speakers say black. Ironically, even racists in other countries very often, they may speak Polish, but they'll call people black, right? If they're from the United States, because they're saying that's the term that I've heard identified with you. But very often, if you talk to them, they'll say, well, no, we know you You're descendants of the Moors, right? You're Moors. So very often they know who we are, but they come here and like, well, I gotta fit in here. You're black? Okay. Black. Go along, get along. You want me to call you what? I'll call you what you want to be called. Last time I told this brother, we told me, good brother. Good brother, who I again love and went to school with. He told me, he said that Moor, so I had a Spanish teacher that taught us that Moor translates as living black. I said, living black? That's what he said, living black. I said, who told you that? He said, I said, brother, my father's from Cuba. I've studied medieval Spanish. I've had some of the best Spanish teachers as far as being able to read and knowing the etymology. I said, translating as living black is a recent phenomenon in order to continue to keep you confused. Just think about what you just said. Living black. What's implied is that black is dead.
So the living dead.
The living dead.
The walking dead.
The walking dead. Zombies. And word is not translated as zombies. So the idea of saying that Moor means living black, I said, no, there are Spanish speakers I know. Usually European Spaniards who are trying to deny the Moorish legacy, or people who are simply ignorant. Because I give that to people. Some people just don't know. So I'm not mad at upset with everybody. But I said, no, brother. I said, it doesn't mean living black. It didn't mean that in the beginning. We didn't come into Spain calling ourselves Moors and then the Spaniards said, well, that means living black. Because they called us initially by what we called ourselves. It's only after we were subjugated. And when you're subjugated, you lose control of your destiny. You lose control of the terms that people use for you. I didn't even get into the downfall of the Moors, but I think there's still a YouTube video up where I talk about in detail the decline of Moorish power and prestige. But I talk about the systematic process, and that process included Spanish Catholics saying, we have to redefine you. Then we have to separate your children from the parents, because you're always going to know who you are. But if I take you out of your community, now you're over here. Negro, Morisco, Mudejar. You're raised in the Catholic school, and that's what you become. But those who were still in their own community, who knew their history, so I'm not black, I'm not Negro, I'm not Noir, right? They understood that. But the problem is, again, most of us, I think part of us have tried to make an industry of black consciousness as opposed to African. I tell people all the time, what are you talking about when you say black? Because if you're talking about African peoples, then just say African.
And be specific.
Right? I mean, let's be specific. Well, but I'm trying to include people of the Caribbean. Yes, but people of the Caribbean, where did they come from? According to your perspective, right? Meaning the black consciousness person. Well, African. So say African. There are Africans in Africa, Africans in Europe, Africans in the Americas, Africans in Asia. Brother Renoka Rashid talks about the African presence in Asia. Right? This obsession, we can't, it's like a drug. I can't get off it. Yeah, stuck on that. And I think it, well, I could say a lot more, but
quickly, two more questions.
Okay. All right.
Sorry. No, there's a video on YouTube with San Letters, and San Letters.
What, the Negro?
Spanish girl saying black power. And she's like, Latino power, and he said, yo, come on, how do you say it in Spanish? And he was so stupid, trying to figure out a word, and he said, no, that's not a word. That's not a word.
I mean, just to say quickly, as I pointed out, terms in the 11th and 12th century for the African peoples, the Moors, the Almoravids who came in, aside from Moros, Moabita, Moabitarum, which is the Latin, showing the connection between Moor and Moabites. Clearly they understood that we as Africans, meaning coming in directly from the African continent into Al-Andalus, still had connections to Asia. In fact, I couldn't get into it because there's too much material. If you get a chance to read the book, when I go into more details about our presence and connection to the Americas. The only thing I can do, and I'll basically just go through that in about a minute, I'll just show you, just in case you haven't seen it, some slides of, if you will, Africoid images from the Americas that confirm the presence here. Probably the greatest scholar to do this in recent time was the late, great Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, who talked about the pre-Columbian presence of Africans in the Americas. Yes, sir. Yes?
Could you just briefly, I know it's extensive, but just briefly the connection of the Minoans and their connection to either Etruscans, Phoenicians, or...
Yeah. Briefly, according to people like Martin Bernal, who wrote, he just passed away a few years ago, Black Athena, the Afro-Asiatic roots of Hellenistic civilization. He points out that there's a link between the Minoans and specifically Nile Valley civilization, right, or the Egyptians. The idea that there's then a connection between, say, the Minoans and the community known as Moors, that involves then Diop. Are you familiar with Sheikh Anta Diop, who was a Senegalese Egyptologist? Again, someone else to take a look. Two people, Martin Bernal, Black Athena, and Sheikh Anta Diop, the African origin of civilization. Diop talks about how the Nile Valley civilization is really like the centerpiece for knowledge. It's like a headquarters for the spreading of knowledge. That knowledge was spread then into areas of Greece. It will then be found in aspects of Greek mythology. There's a reason why Zeus, who was the Greek god, the king of the gods, if you will, returns to Abyssinia or Ethiopia every year for the festival to worship and to feast. Ethiopia, the people of Abyssinia, Kush, Aksum, are known as the most innocent of men in Greek sources. I think it's Diodorus Siculus. Greek civilization was fully aware of its tutelage under Nile Valley civilization. The connection to the Moors is by proxy, because essentially, according to what we can tell as far as history, migration is, people started in that region, Nile Valley civilization in East Africa. Then they migrate west and go into other regions of what we know as the continent of Africa. Hence, you see connections between the Phoenicians and founders of early Morocco. Hence, you hear Diop talking about connections between the Wolof language in Senegal and ancient Kemetic, because that migration occurs from the east and then goes west. And it also will go north into areas of what we know as Hellenistic civilization or Greek civilization, Greek city-states.
Thank you very much. And just one quick note, just in regards to the pictures we were talking about, the saints and stuff.
Yes, sir.
So I'm from a Minoan island called Symbolism. And I wasn't supposed to, but I took pictures of the churches, because they build the churches inside the caves and the mountains, and they're all dark skinned. All of them, every single one of them, all the churches, and there's like hundreds and little islands.
Thank you for sharing. Thanks,
Closing remarks? Closing comments?
Yes. Again, I said I was just going to show these images while I'm leaving. This is something you should know more about. You can ask me after the lecture if you want. Very important. And all of this information is in my book. This is pre-Columbian. This is from Venezuela. Same thing here, pre-Columbian. This is specifically described as Moorish. This was found in Mexico in Veracruz. This is from Dr. Ivan Van Sertima's text. You see the correlation. He's showing you a Nuba system and then an image found in pre-Columbian America. Alexander von Futenau was a German art historian who was uncovering this information in the 1940s and was honest. Again, for clarity, I love humanity. I don't care what nation you're from. You're my brother, you're my sister. I have to tell the truth about what's occurred, so I, of course, will critique the negative aspects of European events. But I don't hate Europeans. There's no room for hate. We are here to learn to love. We first learn to love ourselves, and we learn to love the family. We just want the family to know some of us are waking up. Not all of us are still in Blackland. Some of us are waking up, but we essentially have to present the truth. The truth about bad wars, like you mentioned before, dirty wars. Yes. Also in Mexico. But Alexander von Futenau collected these things and put them on display. Ivan Van Sertima went to his studio in Mexico City, and he allowed him to take pictures of these. Some of you may have seen these giant Olmec heads in Mexico. People try to say that they are not Africoid, right? Are you going to tell me that's not Africoid? It's not.
Well, can you go back one slide?
Yes.
I got to Supreme. That statue right there, Supreme, in the past year was put outside of the Smithsonian Museum of Natural Sciences. It's sitting right out there. I forget which avenue that is, but it's right there in Washington, D.C., right outside the Smithsonian Museum. That statue right there. It's just a small one.
This weighs between 9 and 12 tons. So you're talking about something that's huge. That's one also in Mexico City. You see I think it might not go, actually, I think that's in Veracruz. But you can see that person is African. These are pre-Columbian, meaning these are between 2,500 to between, the early ones I showed you from the 12th and 13th centuries. So they're between 800 and 900 years old to 3,000 years old.
Is that before the Common Era?
Yes.
What people think is before Christ, but
Before Christ, right, before the Common Era. Right. This is almost 3,000 years old. This one I love because it's clearly a brother in a fez. Clearly a brother in a fez, and this is found in Mexico. Pre-Columbian. I just showed this. This was the Egyptians protesting British colonial rule. They all have their fez. Bush on. That's another discussion even about this and Ataturk and etc. That's another representation of this person on the lower right. That's one of the Indians of California. Caliph. These are some of the indigenous names. Again, these are Native American names. What stands out up there? In particular, which name? Or names? Saracens, and Marabitane. That's from Moabite, Moravid. Those are all references to the Moors. Marabios. Those are all references to the Marabouts. The Marabouts was a Moorish Islamic community in the old Moorish Empire on the continent of Africa. And again, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance.
We're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome for our 7th annual Noble Juali Day celebration. Give it up for the Prophet. Do we also give it up for yourselves for being here? I'm Cujo Adwell, Grand Chief for the Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Divine National Movement, Moorish Holy Temple of Science for Canaanland territory. We, every year, we make sure that we follow the lessons of one of our great leaders, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who taught us that we have to canonize our own saints. Meaning that if we don't respect our own, there ain't nobody gonna respect us until we respect our own. So we have our ritual that we gotta do, making sure we get the ancestors on our side. So we're just gonna start off with our prayer. If we could have everybody rise, whoever doesn't want to take part, please hold your peace. We're facing the east, which is this way. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Yeah, right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day, through His holy prophet, Noble Juali, Islam, Ashe. We already know it's football weekend, so you know how it goes already. All right. Another thing that we do on Noble Juali Day, like I was saying, is making sure that we acknowledge people who have been contributing to the upliftment of fallen humanity and the upliftment of themselves. We have a good session today. One of our familiar faces is here, Brother Setnara Bey, who's going to be presented. We give it up for Brother Setnara. And we have a new installment to Canaanland. First time here, so we want to make sure we give it up for Brother Rasben. And before we go to the lectures, we're going to do our acknowledgments. So, taking time to make sure that everything's running smooth, to make sure that there's no issues. You know what I mean? When people act crazy, throw stuff through windows and stuff like that. This is the individual who gets called. You know what I mean? So the first acknowledgement is going to go to one of our own, our secretary, Brother Mario Bey, who's come up and give you a round. So the Noble Juali Award is presented to those who put their hard work and they support and they assist and they help in the uplifting of fallen humanity, as well as through themselves and their families, making sure that our communities are a better place for our future generations. So once again, Mario Bey. All right, yeah, we got him. The unexpected ones are the best. Another supporter. Again, the theme of the Moorish movement is uplifting fallen humanity, and we recognize through the teachings of Noble Juali that humanity is woman. Humanity is the feminine principle. So we have to make sure that we honor the feminine principle, and so in turn we can be honored, right? So this Noble Juali Award is, people might cry and stuff like that. Sister Naeem L. down. I know that you were going to cry. That's why I wanted to bring you up, right? Give you some love, all right? And the reason why we're acknowledging our sister, because she's taken, 6-hour bus rides and stuff like that to make sure she's here. There's people who are 5 minutes from here that don't recognize their own stuff. So thank you very much. We appreciate you. And thank you. Told y'all she was gonna cry. Told y'all.
You knew it, eh?
See that one done. Again, once again, honoring the matriarch, Oh, don't sit down yet, Sister Khalifa. Why don't you come on down? Once again, we have these individuals that take, 12-hour bus rides and plane rides and stuff like that to come to Canaanland, right, to acknowledge what's going on out here. So we have to give you props. You're not going to cry, you might hit me later. Thank you, all right? We appreciate you. Once again, Sister Khalifa. These two are special right here. Yeah. These two are special. This is one of the youngest one. Well, for today, it's one of the youngest ones that we're going to give out. We just put out an album called Wisdom of the Womb. Al-Moroccan compilation album, and we brought some people together to make sure that we can have the Moorish theme throughout this album. It's a 3-disc album. It was supposed to be released today, but we had some issues with the printing people or whatever, but we're still going to go with it being released today even though we don't have it. So we want to acknowledge one of the individuals that is getting their exposure for being a spoken word artist. So we want to call up Sister Raven to get their acknowledgement. This was the first time we're recording, and when you hear the album, you will see that she killed the album. She did her part. So thank you. And as well, we have another one here, which is for her sister, who right now is embarking on the vegan journey, right? And she's going harder than a lot of people she's going hard on the vegan journey. So make sure you give that to her, let her know that we appreciate her taking the steps off the process. Now we can't go without, we got 3 more. We got 3 more. We also want to call up, Brother Omar had started the Moorish Culture Club. And the Moorish Culture Club was basically for the Moors to have an institution outside of the temple that would facilitate, events like these. We had the camp yesterday, and some other things. Brother Omar has made sure that he has a good group of people around him that help him get the work done. We cannot move forward without acknowledging the matriarchal principle that holds this thing together. So we want to call up our good mother, all our mothers, Sister Mocha Alves. have to honor mom. You know, especially when she's keeping us on our toes, making sure the tables have cloths on them and stuff like that. So we thank you so much, and we appreciate you for your commitment.
I have to say that none of us would be here today if it weren't for our Grand Chief Cujo. So I'd like to say
Oh, Brother Omar, would you please make use of you to do this one right here.
All right, so I'm Brother Omar Sharif Albay, Assistant Grand Chief, creator, I guess, of the Moorish Culture Club, and I guess some months ago we had a Skype with a brother from Regency, not in Canaanland, and there was an energy that spoke to me, and the brother was there to want to speak all afternoon. And something touched me, and I said, we got to bring this brother up here. So I didn't know about this, but we have our Local Drill Lead Award for Mobay. Well, we have started to create or started to acknowledge what I feel are Moors who have come from outside of our regency to do work here, uplift fallen humanity here. And I have taken it upon myself and felt something talk to me about acknowledging that in a sort of governmental sort of level, but not sort of officially governmental, more spiritual. And I've decided to acknowledge that with the green fence. So for Mobay, for the activity of athleticism vis-a-vis basketball, we give to you the green fence. Canaanland is 3. Oh, no, 2.
There you go. Appreciate it. Peace, love.
So maybe you like to pick that
How you guys doing? Islam. First off, I really want to thank these guys for making this thing happen. You know, I truly believe in synchronicity and just things adding up. We had a Skype conversation. I'm sure half of you guys were there. Had a chance to really get to know this guy, man. Spent hours and hours on the phone together. But it's just an amazing thing to actually be around so many conscious brothers and sisters. It's been a long journey for me because I've been seeking my whole entire life. So it's amazing, you know, once you put it all together, once the stars really align, and we're here, and it's a beautiful thing, man. Just like my brother said yesterday, man, life is to be lived, and there's times where you get on this journey and you feel like you're all alone until you run into your Moors brothers and sisters, to kind of reaffirm some things that you've thought your whole entire life. So, man, it's an honor and it's a blessing to be here, man. I really appreciate all of the love you guys have given me since I've consciously and remembered who I was and got back into the movement, and it's been amazing. Everybody's embraced me, and you know, we just want to continue to uplift humanity, uplift each other, and keep this thing going, because it all starts with us. This is the end.
This is loud.
All right, now, William Penn was not the mastermind of this. If you want to follow up on this more, right, and see who are the ones that designed this, who planned this act of magic, you need to study the Philadelphian Society, which was a Rosicrucian order based out of London. 3 key figures: a man named John Portage, a woman named Jane Lee, and a man named William Markham. William Markham being the first governor of Penns Woods, which is Pennsylvania, right? And the one who actually executed a lot of this plan to kind of make it manifest, all right? And this act of magic is memorialized in the city of Philadelphia in our city hall, our downtown city hall. So it's iconic. Y'all all seen, I'm sure, pictures of Philadelphia City Hall with William Penn standing at the top, right? City Hall is a very mystic building with a lot of these mysteries encoded in it, all right? First being that City Hall is the tallest habitable masonry building in the world that is not a temple. Meaning, all right, so you know, like we're in downtown Toronto, right? Y'all got a whole lot of skyscrapers, right? Those skyscrapers aren't masonry buildings. Meaning, what's holding them up is steel beams and girders, okay? A masonry building is a building that the stones that make the walls actually hold up the structure. So they're usually megalithic structures like the Pyramid of Giza, right? And like a lot of other temples we can visualize, right? So this is a very unique building. Don't have no steel beams or girders holding it up. It's a stone weight-bearing building. It's 548 feet tall. It took 30 years to make, 24 million to spend, right? It has 22-foot thick blocks that hold up the weight of the building. And again, it's the tallest building of its nature, largest building of its nature that is not officially a temple. All right, and I say officially because really it does play the role of a temple in a couple of ways. So not only is it built like the masonry structure of it is temple-like, but even the design and the architecture of Philadelphia City Hall is temple-like in that it has concentric courts, or courts within courts. The innermost court being like the Holy of Holies or the inner sanctum, right? And when you get into that innermost court of City Hall, you really see what it's about. Philadelphia City Hall is a Babylon mystery temple, giving recognition that Rome is a resurrection of what? Rome is a resurrection of what? Babylon. Okay? And you have this Babylon mystery temple memorializing taking over the four corners of the earth with the four root races of humanity. So you find columns. There's four main columns in the inner sanctum. One has the indigenous American, indigenous European, indigenous Asian, indigenous African, represent the four corners of the earth. And again, these are weight-bearing structures. Who are they holding up? William Penn, the resurrector of Rome. Okay? And to tie it in with this prophecy, how do they memorialize this, inverting the prophecy and encoding it in City Hall? By writing and enshrining on City Hall William Penn's prayer for Philadelphia, which says, "O Philadelphia, named before thou were born." So I told you, William Penn didn't even come up with this idea. It's the Philadelphian society that masterminded this thing. "My soul prays to God for thee, that thou mayst stand in the day of trial, that thy children be blessed, and by thy people saved by thy power." So this is how they memorialize and enshrine this idea that Philadelphia was birthed to resurrect the Roman Empire in such a way that that prophecy of the Church of Philadelphia would be inverted and actually fall on the Roman Empire. Okay? Now, this idea of them stealing the prophetic birthright of the lost tribes, this will possibly be a part 2. All right? But this, the last tour I took Set Rod's class on. This was the tour we actually did. I showed how they got memorialized how to steal a birthright. How to steal a birthright. Step 1, you assassinate the matriarch of governance. They got a statue of some colonizers assassinating the queen goddess Winona, wife of Chief Tammany. Right? Step 2, you isolate the indigenous woman. You can breed her up. Step 3, you isolate the indigenous man, ply him with tobacco and rum. Easy to manipulate, and he can sign away the land. And then they ended up with a super soldier. There's a statue of a super soldier who has a giant penis ejaculating an eagle. We might get into that. All right, but isn't that on YouTube?
No, it was on Facebook Live.
It's on Facebook Live.
So, just so I can tell, if any of y'all friends with King Knowledge L, you can go to his page and it's on there. Practically the whole tour.
Yeah. And I do have a couple of other YouTubes where I go over this, but it's not like a live tour. All right. And I think y'all will be able to find those. All right. So now, I do want to say that in Philadelphia, they consider Philadelphia to be a museum without walls. Okay? And that Philadelphia, they would say, has one of the most impressive collection of art, architecture, art-type symbols in the world. Okay? And, now back up one. So, they consider, here's a book named Public Art in Philadelphia, right? Then this works, they break down how public art is really political art. That they're memorializing their political leaders, their political figures, and how their efforts empower the occupation of this land. Okay? But I want to point out that their artwork is a part of this magic. Okay? Because if you're a magi, and I don't mean illusionist. I hope y'all are clear when I say magi. I'm not talking about David Copperfield. Y'all know that, right? All right. So if you're a magi and you're tight with your game, one thing you have to do as much as possible, you got to honor universal law. You got to honor the laws of nature. And One of the laws you gotta honor the most is the law of free will. You cannot violate a next man's free will when you're working magic. Because then what you will do is create a karmic energy dynamic where your free will be denied. So what they do is they tell you everything they're doing. They might not tell you in English like, yeah, I'm going to kill your, matriarchal governance, right? I'm going to breed you up. I'm going to manipulate your man and make a super soldier army with y'all, with your seed. They're not going to say it in English like that right in front of you. Because if someone comes to you and say that, it's going to naturally bring resistance. You're not going to tolerate that, right? So what they do is they use the language of art, architecture, and archetype symbols. And they tell you everything that they're going to do. And it is your choice to pay attention to it and decipher it or not. And if you don't pay attention to it and you don't choose to decipher it, then you're implying consent. And so I'm not violating your free will. Are y'all with me? Yeah. All right. So that's why that's why the study of Philadelphia's architecture and archetype symbols is so rewarding. Because they're telling us everything they're doing. All right, and there's one artist who, this man, he has to be a master Rosicrucian, who knows everything that I'm sharing with you. Because he has 3 pieces of art in Philadelphia, all of them tied to what we're talking about today. His name is Jock Lipschitz. This is one of his pieces, right in front of City Hall, memorializing the Babylon Mystery Temple and how Babylon is taking the 4 races of humanity to take over the 4 corners of the earth. Okay? Jock Lipschitz is also the sculptor of the Spirit of Enterprise. This is the statue I was just telling you about, where you got this giant super soldier with this giant penis, sperm coursing through it and ejaculating an eagle. This embodies stealing the prophetic birthright to advance Rome's crusade. Okay? And he has one more sculpture too, and that's Prometheus strangling the vulture on top of Fire Mount or Fair Mount, which is the most sacred pyramid mound of Lenapehoking. Okay? Tradition says that this fire mound, which now the Philadelphia Museum of Art sits on top of, this mound is so powerful, whatever happens here happens with the full participation of the earth. That's what Lenape tradition said. Okay? So it's been taken over. It's now called Fairmount. So if you come to Philadelphia and you hear about Fairmount Park, this is Fairmount. Fairmount means fire mound. Okay? Hold that thought, because anybody that knows the story of Prometheus is going to know the significance of it being the fire mound. Okay? But this sculpture is Prometheus strangling the vulture. And you can see it's a small statue. It's the smallest of all the Jock Lipschitz statues. And to be honest, I wasn't able to decipher the full significance of this statue until the last tour that we did with Sakurai's class, all right? But it's centered right in front of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, even though it's a small statue. Okay? And here it is, you see Prometheus, he's strangling a vulture. What's the significance of that? All right, Prometheus is a titan. A titan in Greco-Roman mythology was a race of beings that were demigods, kind of, well, they had probably some beyond Earth ancestry and some human ancestry, but these who we would know biblically as the Nephilim. These are the reptilians. These are they got many names by many people, okay? But these were the beings that, because of their corruption of humanity, were imprisoned inside of the earth, okay? There's a lot of different traditions. I'm sure y'all know at least one tradition where these beings are related to, right? All right, so we all know what we're talking about. So now, Prometheus was the titan that supposedly gave fire to humanity against the will of the gods. And for that transgression, Prometheus and the rest of the titans was imprisoned in the earth. Prometheus specifically was chained to what was called the rock of eternal torment. And a vulture, a magical vulture, was placed there to take a bite out of Prometheus. And wherever he bit Prometheus, that part of his body would grow back to only be bit again. So it was like a rock of eternal torment, right? But the way Jock Lipschitz portrays Prometheus, he's now freed from the rock of eternal torment, and he's killing the vulture. Okay? Very significant. We're going to get into why. But what I want to point out is that this is tied in to one of the biggest things Philadelphia has been historically, and that's a place of science, technology, and invention. And this whole thing ultimately goes back to what we would just say is Ben Franklin opening the gates of hell. Okay? And like I said, I wasn't able to fully decipher the significance of that Prometheus statue until the last tour we did with Seth and Rob, right? Because this plaque, which is in Eakins Oval on the George Washington equestrian statue, across the street but directly in front of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. We always would look at this plaque where you got Ben Franklin, right? Now, we might get into deciphering this whole statue, but what I want to point out is this. You see, everyone is heading in one direction and looking in one direction, right? And if you follow this plaque on the statue, where they're heading to is the assassination of the Queen Goddess. There's only one person looking away from it, and that's Ben Franklin. We always asked ourselves, what is Ben Franklin looking at? We could say, yeah, he was just looking at Fairmount, looking at the art museum, but we always knew it was something more, right? And it was like, well, is he looking away from the assassination of the Queen Goddess? Like, you know, like plausible denial, like I ain't see it. You know, I might have set it up, but I ain't see it. Like he was always attempting to decipher it, right? But when I science that Prometheus statue. That Prometheus statue is in direct alignment with this statue. And that is what Ben Franklin is looking at. Okay? And this is all tied in to Ben Franklin's quote-unquote discovery of electricity, starting the industrial technological revolution and opening up the gates of hell. Okay? And what this is saying is, what they're saying with their art and their architecture was that Prometheus, the Titan, was Ben Franklin's inspiration for harnessing electric fire in what is known historically as the Philadelphia experiment. Okay?
Give it up again for those last men. All right, so we're in closing time. I want to thank everybody for being here. Give yourself a round of applause, please. And give our Noble Jubilee Day recipients a round of applause. Oh yeah, don't forget the food. Give the food a shout out. And as well as all of our vendors that are here today.